Your chest tightens in the half-second before the message opens. Heat blooms in your face, as if someone nudged the thermostat from the inside. Your tongue goes dry, your shoulders rise, your mind scatters into future catastrophes so fast you can almost hear the wind of it. A colleague's short reply feels like a verdict. A late bus becomes a referendum on your life. You promise yourself you'll be calm next time, but next time arrives without knocking. Sound familiar? Here's the quiet pivot you've been missing. The art of creating stillness inside chaos, not after it. In the next minutes, you'll learn how to seize the first 60 seconds, return blood flow to the thinking part of your brain, and choose who you'll be while the storm is still raging. Present moment tools, not platitudes, tiny moves, not moral sermons. Breathe once. We start there, but we won't stay there. Stillness is not the absence of noise, it's the presence of choice. That's more than a slogan. In your brain, alarms begin in the amygdala, that almond-shaped guardian that scans for threat and sometimes mistakes a calendar notification for a tiger. When it fires, it siphons resources from your prefrontal cortex, the part that plans, reframes, decides. You feel it as narrowing, tunnel vision, clenched jaw, a story that rushes to endings. The first skill of this audiobook is the still point protocol, a 4-step micro method you'll memorize and use anywhere. The steps are simple because they have to be: mark, breathe, name, aim. You will mark the moment a surge begins. You will breathe in a pattern that tells your nervous system you are not prey. You will name what is happening in plain English. You will aim at the smallest wise action available. 4 moves, 60 seconds, a different you. Let's make it tangible. Imagine an ordinary kitchen at 7:38 a.m. The pan hisses. The kettle starts its thin whistle. Your partner asks a curt question about the bill you forgot to pay, something small but sharp enough to puncture your fragile morning. Your mouth tightens, the urge to fire back spikes in your throat. This is the mark. If you wait for a quieter room, you will miss the train. Mark the surge right here. I recommend a tiny cue. Tap your thumb to your index finger and silently say, "Mark." You're telling the amygdala, "I see you." Immediately pair it with the 4-4-6 breath. In for a count of 4, hold for 4, out for 6. The longer exhale signals the parasympathetic break. Do 2 cycles. It takes roughly 14 seconds. While you breathe, lower your shoulders by a centimeter and unclench your molars. A soft jaw tells the body the danger has passed, and your body listens faster than your opinions do. Notice your skin temperature for a heartbeat. The air may feel cool along your forearms. Your chest might feel warm where the shirt meets skin. Sensation anchors you to the present tense. It's hard for a storm to carry off a person who keeps returning to where their feet are. Name what's happening out loud if the space permits, in the format that creates distance. I'm having the thought that they don't appreciate what I do, or there's a wave of anger in my chest. Your language matters. When you say "I am angry," you glue your identity to the weather. When you say "there is anger," you become the sky. That small grammatical shift creates a measurable gap. In that gap you aim the smallest wise action. Maybe it's to ask, "Can we talk about this after I send the 8 a.m. email?" Maybe it's to place the bill on the counter with a sticky note that says, "I missed this, handling it at noon." Small is not weak. Small is strategic, because your prefrontal cortex is rejoining the team, and it handles small beautifully. You might be tempted to argue that chaos demands big moves, but chaotic moments punish big plans and reward tiny steps repeated. The still point protocol is not about suppressing emotion. It's about metabolizing intensity into choice. The breath brings oxygen and signal. The name updates your internal narrator. The aim moves the energy somewhere useful. You don't need a silent cabin or a scented candle. You need 14 seconds and a sentence. This is not about becoming a monk. It's about being the kind of professional, partner, and friend who doesn't outsource their behavior to adrenaline. A scene from a fluorescent conference room will help you see it. Maya is presenting Q3 projections to a skeptical client. As she clicks to slide 7, the CFO interrupts with a hard question, the kind that implies incompetence. Heat climbs Maya's neck. Her vision tightens on the corner of the screen where a tiny typo mocks her. The old pattern is ready. Over-explain, apologize too much, flood the room with data, and drown herself in the process. But she's practiced. Under the table, her thumb taps her finger. Mark. She inhales for 4, holds 4, exhales 6 twice. The room doesn't notice the breath, but her nervous system does. Her shoulders descend. She names it silently. There's a spike of fear in my chest. I'm having the thought he's already decided. Then she aims at the smallest wise action, one clarifying question. Would it help if I show the sensitivity analysis behind those assumptions? The CFO blinks, then nods. 20 minutes later, Maya leaves the room intact, not because the world got kind, but because she made room. That's stillness in chaos. It's boring from the outside. It's liberation on the inside. Feel your own breath now. Does the inhale snag at the top, as if the lungs don't fully trust the world? Try a gentler entry, like pouring water into a bowl rather than vacuuming air. In 4 beats, hold for 4 as if you're letting the dust settle in a snow globe, and then let the 6-count exhale wash the bowl. If you prefer numbers off stage, think of it as short in little pause, longer out. As the breath lengthens, scan 3 points, forehead, tongue, palms. These are busy little messengers. Smoothing the forehead, softening the tongue from the roof of your mouth, and opening the palms, a fraction can cascade a message through your system that it's safe to think again. This is not spirituality, it's a user manual. Now we fold in a second tool, one you'll use alongside the still point protocol, like 2 hands working the same knot. I call it the 90-second weather rule. Emotions, when left unfed by new thoughts, crest and diminish in about 90 seconds. Picture each surge as a passing storm cell. Your job is not to deny the rain, it's to provide a shelter until the heaviest drops pass. The protocol is simple. Once you mark and breathe, you time the wave for 90 seconds and refuse to add fuel. You watch. You narrate in neutral terms. You let your attention rest on sensation and breath, not on the courtroom in your head convening to issue verdicts. When the 1.5 minutes passes, you choose the next action with clearer eyes. If you've ever watched a toddler tantrum turn into a yawn, you've seen this biology in plain clothes. Let's try it for real right here with something low stakes. Think about a message that irked you recently, the tiny slight, the passive-aggressive period. Bring it to mind just enough to feel the first ripple. Mark it, tap thumb to finger. Begin the 4-4-6 twice. Keep your eyes on one ordinary detail in your environment, the grain in the table, the way light pools at the edge of a window. That's your raindrop. Start the 90 seconds. As you breathe, say, there's pressure in my chest, there's heat in my cheeks, there's a thought that they don't respect me, and another thought that I must respond perfectly. Let them wander by like headlines on a news ticker you aren't buying. If another thought barges in dressed like urgency, bow to it and let it pass. 90 seconds can feel short or endless. Either way, it's finite. When it ends, ask yourself one question. What is the smallest action that aligns with who I want to be? Maybe it's do nothing. Maybe it's seen, will reply after lunch. Maybe it's a clear boundary. The choice is the point. You might ask, why bother naming and timing at all? Because your reticular activating system, the brain's filter that decides what gets your attention, listens to your words. When you say, I'm under attack, The filter highlights every sign of threat and hides the exits. When you say, "There's a wave of anger in the body," the filter highlights physiology, which is solvable, and reveals exits. Over days of practice, your RAS starts to favor cues of safety and options. That tilt is not magic, it's training. Athletes train muscles, you train filters. A quieter truth lives under these moves. You are the awareness noticing the breath, not the breath. You are the one seeing the heat in the face, not the heat. When you rest as awareness for even a second, your identity unhooks from the surge. This is not a mystical statement. Imagine your mind as a room with windows on every wall. Weather rolls past, gusts of fear, sudden rain of anger, a fog of doubt. You don't become the fog because you are the room. The still point protocol and the 90-second, weather rule are just ways of finding the chair in that room and sitting down long enough to choose a door. Picture a crowded train now. Afternoon heat has turned the carriage into a slow oven. A ringtone slices the air, someone's backpack presses against your ribs, the schedule on your phone tells you you're late. That familiar surge begins. Mark, thumb to finger, 446 twice. Name it, there's a wave of frustration. There's a thought I'm losing control. There's heat behind my eyes. The 90 seconds begin. You shift your attention to a neutral anchor, the cool metal pole under your palm. Notice the exact temperature, the faint texture, the vibration of the tracks sending a hummingbird's tremor into your hand. The wave crests and recedes, not because the train empties, but because you didn't pour gasoline on the wick. A small boy in a red cap giggles at a game on his mother's phone. You catch the sound and feel the room broaden. Then you aim. You craft a 2-sentence message that resets expectations without apology. Running 12 minutes late. Starting without me is okay. I'll catch up quickly. You are not calm because the world cooperated. You are calm because you cooperated with yourself. This is not about becoming a person who never feels. It's about becoming the kind of person whose feelings don't get to drive every car. There will be times the surge is big, grief, betrayal, loss. The same tools apply, but the smallest wise action may simply be to place a hand on your chest and say your name with kindness, then ask for help. The still point protocol scales, not by making the world smaller, but by making your inner room larger. And the 90-second, where the rule won't fix everything, some storms stall. But even then, the choice to time 1 minute and 30 seconds of breath is an act of dignity. Dignity compounds. Before you move on, install the habits. Place a tiny dot sticker on your phone or watch where your thumb rests. That's your mark cue. Every time you see it, do 1-4-4-6 cycle. Teach your body the pattern in calm so it's available in chaos. Write the sentence on a note where you'll trip over it. I'm having the thought that. Speak it at least once today when annoyance arises, not to be clever, but to practice being the room. Tonight, set a 90-second timer and choose a small irritation from the day. Watch it like weather. Narrate in neutral terms. When the timer ends, ask for the smallest wise action and do it. Confidence arrives not as a mood, but as receipts of follow-through. Feel the chair beneath you now or the floor under your feet. Let your attention drop into those points of contact as if they're warm sand accepting your weight. Inhale softly and picture your ribcage widening like curtains opening. Exhale longer and imagine a tide pulling back, revealing smooth stones and driftwood. Your jaw loosens. Your eyes soften their focus until the edges of the room blur and you're released from the compulsion to control everything at once. In this space, say to yourself, I am the awareness behind this moment. The weather can change, the room remains. You can return here quickly, in meetings, in kitchens, on trains, in the middle of a messy conversation. Chaos does not get to be the author, you do. When you use these tools in the wild, expect to forget them right when you need them most. That's normal. Forgetting is part of learning. The game is not perfection, it's reduction. The time between surge and still point shrinks with practice. One day soon, you'll feel the same old spike and automatically your thumb will tap, your breath will lengthen, your words will soften, and your aim will land on one small, wise move. People will call you calm. You'll know the truth, you're trained. Chaos outside is loud because attention inside is jumpy. In this part, you'll learn to pilot attention like a steady-handed camera operator rather than a tourist with shaky hands. Your attention is not a single beam. It has two modes, spotlight and lantern. I call this the spotlight-lantern switch. Spotlight is narrow, precise, ideal for a single line in a contract or the tone of one sentence. Lantern is wide, receptive, perfect for reading a room or noticing your body's cues. Stress locks you into a jammed spotlight that points at threat. You miss exits and allies, or it floods you with lantern glare so wide you can't choose. The switch is a trainable lever. We'll pair it with a second tool, the three-angle reframe, to re-script the story your mind writes under pressure. With these two, you rewire what your reticular activating system tags as relevant, so calm becomes easier not by force, but by better defaults. Start with your body. It's the fastest door to the booth where attention is edited. Sit as you are. Let your eyes soften as if you're looking through a pane of glass at the horizon. That's lantern. Take a slow inhale and notice the whole field, the hum in the room, the weight of clothing on your shoulders, the shadow near your feet. Exhale longer than the inhale and allow your jaw to slacken a hair. Now, raise a hand and look at the lines on one knuckle. Let your gaze narrow until the world blurs and only that knuckle remains. That's spotlight. Switch back to lantern by widening your vision until you can sense the edges of the room. Switch to spotlight and count 3 pores in your skin. Back to lantern. Do this 3 times. You have just trained the switch. When chaos hits, you'll use it deliberately. Lantern to take in context. Spotlight to pick the smallest wise action. You are building a reflex that steals agency back from your amygdala. A story will show you the edge. Jordan manages a small team. On Tuesday afternoon, a client sent a vague, disappointed email. No specifics, just the heavy thud of "let's talk." Jordan's ribs tightened. The old movie started rolling. Catastrophe, blame, late-night fixes. He felt his attention jam into a spotlight fixed on the word disappointed, as if it were written across his chest in permanent ink. But he'd been practicing. He lifted his gaze to the top of the monitor and softened it until he could see the plant on his desk and the window in his periphery. Lantern. He took a 4-4-6 breath, then let the exhale melt his shoulders by a notch. He silently labeled the sensations like a map. There's pressure behind the sternum, there's heat on the cheeks, there's a thought that this email is doom. With that widened field, he noticed a small detail he would have missed. A second sentence in the email. We like the direction, need clarity on timing. His jammed spotlight had ignored it. Switch back to spotlight on timing. He jotted 2 options and sent a short reply proposing a call with a timeline sketch. The client responded with a thumbs up. The storm had been mostly weather inside his own room. You can feel your own switch right now. Bring attention to your breath without changing it. Imagine a circle around your head expanding on the inhale, shrinking on the exhale. On the next inhale, add sound, the soft buzz of electronics, a distant car, the whisper of your own clothing. On the exhale, pick 1 grain in the table, 1 fiber in the fabric, 1 pixel on the screen, and keep it in crisp focus for 3 slow counts. This rhythm trains the nervous system to accept choice. It's not meditation homework, it's field kit. When you own the switch, you can walk into a heated meeting with Lantern to perceive mood and tensions, then deploy Spotlight to land one clear sentence instead of 10 anxious ones. Now fold in the three-angle reframe. Under pressure, your mind writes a single, self-protective script. Worst case, globally true, personally damning. That script narrows behavior to fight, flee, or freeze. The three-angle reframe interrupts that loop by requiring three plausible stories about the same event. A negative angle that's specific and solvable, a neutral angle that describes facts without judgment, and a positive angle that is realistic, not saccharine. This isn't to gaslight yourself, it's to pry open options. The amygdala hates ambiguity, the prefrontal cortex feasts on it. When you offer three angles, you deliver ambiguity as nutrition, not threat, and your behavior menu expands. Try it with a small snag you're carrying. Think of a text you sent that got no reply. Notice the old script unspool. They're ignoring me, I messed up, this always happens. Pause, breathe 446 once. Lantern, notice the room. Now write 3 sentences in your head. Negative but specific. It's possible they were put off by my last message's tone. I can apologize and clarify. Neutral, they have not responded within 6 hours. That is data without meaning. Positive but plausible, they're in transit and will appreciate a concise follow-up tomorrow. These are not affirmations, they are cognitive oxygen. Spotlight on the smallest wise action flows from here. Schedule a polite check-in for morning, close the thread, return to the task at hand. You feel your chest lose a millimeter of armor, your jaw becomes your own again. Give your body a fresh anchor to make this stick. I call it the 2-floor breath. Imagine your torso as a building with 2 floors. First inhale fills the lower floor, the belly expands like a balloon under your hands. Second inhale sips a little more air to fill the upper floor, the ribcage widens toward the side seams. Hold for a gentle pause, like you're balancing a tray of water. Exhale through the mouth as if fogging a mirror, slow enough to count to 6, letting both floors empty without collapse. As you breathe this way, pair it with a sentence from the 3-angle reframe. On the inhale, there is a story. On the exhale, there are 3 ways to tell it. After 3 rounds, your inner stage lights dim from frantic to workable, and workability is the only doorway that matters. Picture your senses again. Feel the coolness of air inside your nostrils, the warmth at the back of your throat. Notice the weight of your tongue resting lower, the quiet release across your forehead like a curtain uncreasing. Place your feet flat and press down until you can sense the ground push back, a subtle springiness through your calves. The more specific you get with your sensations, the more your RAS realizes that the present is safe enough for nuanced thought. This is the skill of stillness, not emptying the mind, but filling it with reality. There's another place chaos sneaks in, self-talk after small errors. Serena, a junior designer, sent a mock-up with the wrong font. Her manager flagged it in a group chat. She felt heat flood her neck. The narrative snapped into place. I'm careless, I've blown it, they're rethinking hiring me. She wanted to overwork to atone, to send 10 files by midnight. Instead, she used the Spotlight Lantern switch. Lantern first. Eyes soften, sound widens. She notices the hum of the air conditioner, the texture of the desk under her palm. She names sensations, tingling in the ears, tightness around the collarbone, 2-floor breath, then 3-angle reframe. Negative but specific, I used the wrong font, I'll correct and send the right one with a brief note. Neutral, the manager noted the issue in a short message. That's normal. Positive, this is a chance to show responsiveness and care. Spotlight now, type, good catch, updated file attached, thanks for the nudge. Then she closed the laptop at a sane hour. The next morning, the manager replied with a thumbs up and a smile. Serena didn't earn calm by perfection. She earned it by switching, reframing, and acting small and wise. Let's add a micro drill to keep attention trained in daily life. I call it the 3 doorways. Every time you pass through a literal doorway today, do 3 things. Soften your eyes to lantern for 2 seconds. Do 1 2-floor breath. Ask the 3-angle question about whatever you're carrying. It takes 5 seconds. Over a week, this will lay down grooves. Your body will start initiating the switch when it sees thresholds, which is exactly when state shifts are needed. Taste the room right now. Is the air cool on your upper lip as you inhale? Is there a faint smell, paper, soap, rain? Can you feel a pulse in your fingertips if you press them lightly together? These details are not decoration, they are levers. Each one is a vote for presence. Each one makes it more likely that when someone speaks sharply, you won't turn your entire self into their sentence. Instead, you'll become the person who notices, breathes, reframes, and chooses. To reinforce identity, say this quietly: I am the awareness choosing where to place the beam. The weather can swirl. I choose the angle, the distance, the next inch. Notice how it feels to say that and mean it for 1 breath. Maybe your chest opens a fraction. Maybe your face softens around the eyes. You are not hypnotizing yourself. You're reminding your biology who's seated at the controls. There's one more refinement. Sometimes the lantern takes in too much pain. The room is hot with conflict. The story is sticky. The body screams. When that happens, you'll use the sanctuary cue. Imagine a door inside your chest leading to a quiet, uncluttered room. A wooden chair, a window, a small table with a glass of water. A clock that ticks softly but never hurries you. When the world feels like too many voices at once, you step into this room for exactly 60 seconds. You sit, you put a hand on your chest, you sip air, you watch the clock's second hand make 1 circle. You tell yourself one true thing: I can do the next small thing. Then you step back out. This is not avoidance. It's a controlled retreat that lets you return with your executive function online. Use the sanctuary cue with a sensory anchor. Feel the warmth of your palm through your shirt. Notice the subtle drum of your heartbeat against your hand. On the inhale, imagine the breath entering through your palm into your chest. On the exhale, imagine it leaving through your back into the chair. 2 rounds. When you step back out, you'll see 1 thread you can pull without tangling the whole skein. That thread is your smallest wise action. Calm is not a mood. It's the byproduct of 100 small, well-chosen threads. End your practice here with a 60-second field test. Think of a real conversation you fear today. See the room. Lantern first. Widen your eyes, hear the ambient noise, feel the weight of your body. 2-floor breath. 3-angle reframe, 3 sentences only. Spotlight now. Craft 1 opening line that is clear and kind. Whisper it. Notice how your body responds. If a tremor runs through your belly, let it. The tremor is weather. You are still the room. Before you move on, wire this into your day. Put a tiny sticker on your doorframe or the edge of your monitor. Every time you see it, switch modes: lantern to gather, spotlight to decide. Pair it with 1 3-angle reframe about whatever is loudest in your mind. This is how you make stillness available on demand. You won't do it perfectly. Perfect isn't the point. Shortening the gap is. Today the gap shrinks by 1 breath, 1 switch, 1 sentence. That's how a life tilts. Feel the temperature on your cheeks now. Maybe cooler than at the start. Sense the chair supporting you like a quiet friend who never asks for anything. Inhale through the nose and let the air trace a path behind your eyes. Exhale through the mouth as if fogging a mirror nobody needs to see through. Say it again, softer and truer. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the one who moves the beam. The storm can roar, you are still the room. There's a reason you say yes when your whole body is a quiet no. In the moment, a request arrives with a smile, urgency, or implied consequence, and your nervous system equates boundary with danger. Your chest tightens, the breath goes shallow, and the mind starts trading the present for imagined fallout. This part is about building calm strength at that edge. You'll learn the boundary compass, 4 inner coordinates that point you toward a clear answer without drama, and the one-breath boundary, a micro-script you can deliver even when your throat feels like a locked door. Pair them and you turn fluster into firm. Pair them again and you stop resenting other people for your unmade decisions. You don't need to become hard. You need to become honest at the speed of breath. Feel your body first. Notice the band around your ribs, the one that tightens whenever you sense you're about to disappoint someone. Place one palm on your sternum and one on your belly. Take 1 4-4-6 breath, and on the exhale, see if the band loosens a notch. The boundary compass begins in the body because your body notices truth before your head cross-examines it. The 4 coordinates are simple enough to remember under pressure: value, capacity, reality, and repair. Value asks, does saying yes support who I'm becoming? Capacity asks, do I have energy, time, and attention to do this well without breaking something vital? Reality asks, what are the actual facts, deadline, scope, trade-offs, versus the story I'm spinning? Repair asks, if I say no or not yet, how can I preserve the relationship with a small act of care? You run these like a 20-second scan, then you speak with your throat ungripped. A story will make it concrete. Lena's manager, Theo, pinged at 5:52 p.m. Quick favor, could you polish the deck for tomorrow's exec review? Quick was code for 2 hours. Lena's stomach dipped the way an elevator does when it starts down too fast. In the old movie, she'd say yes, skip dinner, and feel a slow boil of resentment as midnight came. This time she paused, thumb to finger, mark, 2-floor breath, lantern to feel the room, spotlight to choose, boundary compass fast. Value being trusted with exec work fits her growth. Capacity, energy is low. She promised her sister she'd help with her move. The tank reads yellow. Reality, polishing is not rewriting. The slides are 80% done. The review is at 10 a.m. repair. She can offer a specific window tonight or an early morning sprint. She felt the band around her ribs loosen half a notch just from naming it. Then she delivered the one-breath boundary. I can give this 40 focused minutes now or 90 before 9 a.m. Which helps more? Theo chose morning. Lena ate dinner, slept, and delivered on time. She didn't become the office villain. She became reliable in a real way. Taste the air as it enters your nose right now, cool at the tip, warmer as it turns the corner. Let that temperature cue memory. Boundary wobbles increase when your body budget runs low, sleep debt, low blood sugar, dehydrated cells, latent aches. Your brain reads those shortages as threat and overcommits to avoid social conflict, because conflict feels like it will cost what you can't spare. So you add a second tool, the body budget check. It's a 15-second scan you do before answering invitations and obligations. Ask the body 3 quiet questions. Do I need water, rest, or fuel? Is there lingering adrenaline from the last event? What small thing could top up the budget in 5 minutes? This isn't self-care fluff, it's accounting. If the answer is water, sip a glass before you reply. If it's rest, step outside and give your eyes a horizon for 60 seconds. If it's fuel, eat something with protein. Then run the boundary compass again. Truth lands cleaner when the organism has resources. There's another texture here, guilt. Guilt is often misfiled kindness. You care so you tense. The art is to keep the care and remove the tension. The one-breath boundary is designed for that. It has 3 parts: Appreciation, truth, and offer one breath each. Appreciation, name something real you value in the request or the person. Truth, state your capacity and decision in a short sentence without apology. Offer, if appropriate, propose a specific alternative that doesn't injure your budget or values. It sounds like this: I appreciate you trusting me with this. I'm at capacity tonight and won't do it justice. I can review 2 slides at 8:30 a.m. if that helps. You don't need to justify or narrate your entire life. You give a clear signal that respects both the relationship and reality. Your amygdala will predict doom the first few times. The 90-second weather rule will carry you through the first wave, and the aftermath is rarely apocalyptic. It's often relief, yours and theirs. Let your shoulders drop a centimeter. Notice the weight in your palms. Scan your jaw and let the molars part. When you soften the face, the message your body hears is, we're safe enough to tell the truth. From that safety, try the boundary compass on a scenario you actually face. Perhaps a friend wants to vent late at night again. You value being a good friend, but not at the cost of being a functional human tomorrow. Capacity, your eyes are burning, your brain is cotton. Reality, you can listen for 15 minutes, but you can't hold an hour. Repair, you can set a short call now and schedule a weekend coffee to go deeper. One breath boundary, I care about you and want to hear this. I've got 15 in me tonight, can we catch the rest Saturday morning? If there's pushback, you repeat the truth once and hold the line. You're not fighting them, you're escorting yourself to the door of your values. Anecdote from home: in a small kitchen, steam fogs the window above the sink. A pot clatters. Sam's father calls, "Can you come by and fix the router right now? It's urgent, your mom can't watch her shows." Sam loves them. He also promised his partner a date night, tickets already bought. His chest tightens. The old script says, family first, always, whatever the cost. He feels heat prick behind his ears. He steps to the side, presses his palm to the cool tile, and lets the sensation bleed some of the urgency out of his hands. Boundary compass, quiet and quick. Value, yes, support family and keep commitments. Capacity, leaving now means breaking a promise he wants to keep. Stress is high already. Reality, the router has acted up before, remote reset might work. A neighbor could help. Repair, he can FaceTime them now and swing by Saturday morning. He calls back with the one breath boundary: I want you online, and I promised a night out I want to keep. I can jump on FaceTime now and help reset it, or I can come by Saturday at 10, what works? 20 minutes later, the show is streaming. The date starts on time. The family feels supported. The room inside Sam got bigger, not harder. Feel the texture of your clothing on your shoulders again, the slight roughness or the smooth glide. That mundane detail is useful. Boundaries get lost when you leave the body and argue with a phantom. When you stay with sensation, you can let someone else's urgency pass through without absorbing it. Give yourself a field drill. Think of the last time you said yes too quickly. Bring it to mind until the first ripple of tension appears. Place your hand on your chest. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6 twice. Whisper the 4 coordinates: value, capacity, reality, repair. Let one sentence form for each. Then say a one-breath boundary out loud to the empty room. Hear your voice. Feel your throat vibrate. If shame rises, treat it like weather, not identity. You're not rude, you're truthful faster. The science behind the calm is simple enough to use. When you feel cornered, your sympathetic nervous system pulls blood toward the big muscles and away from fine speech and nuance. That's why your words tangle when someone presses you. Longer exhales nudge the vagus nerve and bring online the parasympathetic brake, shifting blood back toward your prefrontal cortex, the piece that can hold 2 truths at once. Your reticular activating system, trained by the spotlight, lantern switch, will now notice actual options: partial yes, scheduled yes, clear no, resourced later. You're not manipulating anyone. You're restoring the part of you that can speak from integrity rather than adrenaline. Sometimes the hardest boundary is with yourself. You promise focus and end up scrolling. You set a bedtime and watch the next episode. You tell yourself you'll leave the party at 10 and exit at midnight with resentment toward your own reflection. For this, fold in a sibling tool, the future self handshake. It's a 10-second pact between your present state and the you you'll be in 2 hours. Place your hand over your heart and ask, out loud if you can, what would future me thank me for? Then do the smallest wise action now. Send the end-of-day wrap email, brush your teeth, set the alarm, and close the laptop. The handshake is not magic. It's a respectful agreement across time that preserves your body budget and your word. Boundaries get easier when you stop making your future self clean up your present self's hopefulness. Check the temperature of the room again. Is there a draft across your ankles? Can you feel your pulse against the inside of your wrist if you place 2 fingers there? Your awareness of these details is proof you're here, not trapped in the story of later. From this presence, practice a slim, powerful sentence. Let me check and get back to you. That sentence buys you the breath and the compass scan. If someone presses for immediate yes, remember that urgency is not a virtue, it's a state. You're allowed to step into your sanctuary room for 60 seconds and return with a real answer. There will be times saying no is right and costly. A friend will be hurt. A colleague will be disappointed. Your nervous system will interpret their frown as exhale. When that pang arrives, breathe and whisper, I am the awareness choosing my values. You are not a bouncer at the door of your life, you're a curator. Curators say no to most invitations so the gallery makes sense. Your life is a gallery, the art deserves space. One afternoon, Ari was asked to join a quick side project with prestige attached. His stomach fluttered, ego lit up like a marquee. The yes would feel good now and haunt him later. He walked to the window and rested his forehead against the cool glass, letting the temperature soothe the inner rush. Boundary compass. Value, deep work on his main product matters more than prestige. Capacity. The calendar is tight. Sleep has been patchy. Reality, the project's scope is fuzzy. Quick is likely code for ongoing. Repair, he can introduce someone excellent. One breath boundary, it's flattering to be considered. I'm focused on X right now and can't give this the attention it deserves. May I connect you with Priya? She's ideal for this. The proposer paused, then smiled. Priya would be perfect. Thank you. Ari didn't win an instant status boost. He won alignment, which compounds like interest. Let's set your nervous system to remember. Pick a physical anchor for boundaries, a ring, a watchband, a bracelet. Every time you feel its texture against your skin, run the 4 coordinates in a whisper. The object becomes a compass rose on your body, a silent reminder that you don't have to barter your peace for approval. Tonight, write 1 sentence on a sticky note: appreciation, truth, offer. Place it where requests arrive, on your keyboard, near your door, on your phone case. You're laying down grooves. Soon your mouth will know the script before the storm arrives. A final micro-practice to close. Sit comfortably. Imagine a small circle of light behind your breastbone, warm as a sun the size of a coin. On the inhale, let the circle grow to the size of your palm. On the exhale, let it settle back to the coin. Inhale again, the circle grows. Exhale, it returns. As it pulsing, say softly, I can be kind and clear. Inhale, kind. Exhale, clear. Your throat unclenches. Your shoulders lower. Your tongue rests heavy and calm. This pairing, kind and clear, is the identity you're training. Not lax and likable, not rigid and righteous. Kind and clear. You're not auditioning for someone's approval, you're practicing being yourself in public. Remember the deepest thing of all, you are the awareness, not the emotion, not the request, not the imagined consequence. You are the room. People will bring weather into your room. You will notice, breathe, consult your compass, and answer with one breath. Sometimes the answer will be yes. Sometimes it will be no. Always the answer will be yours. Overthinking feels productive because it dresses up like preparation. But you know the aftertaste, a buzzing skull, a tight gut, a day eaten by loops that never touch the ground. This part is your exit ramp. You'll learn the Overthought-to-Outcome Bridge, a simple way to turn mental static into one embodied step, and the Emotional Alchemy Ladder, a sequence for moving an unhelpful state up one rung at a time instead of attempting a leap you can't stick. When these two travel together, rumination loses its fuel. You stop arguing with your head and start partnering with your nervous system. The day goes from theoretical to tactile. The mind doesn't calm because you shout at it. It calms because you give it a task it can finish. Taste the air for a second. Cool against the front of your nose, warmer as it slides along the soft palate. Notice the exact weight of your tongue and let it rest heavy in the mouth. Feel your feet on the floor, the subtle pushback from the ground, as if the earth has agreed to hold you for a while. Overthinking hates sensation because sensation is present tense and rumors are not. So we begin by teaching your body that the bridge is safe to cross. The Overthought-to-Outcome Bridge has 4 spans: surface, sort, shrink, step. You surface the loop by speaking one line aloud that begins, "I'm spinning on." You sort by deciding whether the loop is a decision, a plan, or a fear. You shrink the scope until the next move fits inside 2 minutes of effort. Then you step, literally, by moving your body while you act. Motion tells the midbrain this is real. Your prefrontal cortex loves real. A scene: Harper had an annual review at 3. At 9, she opened a doc titled Talking Points and then lost 2 hours to simulations. If they say X, I'll say Y. If they bring up the Q2 dip, I'll explain Z. What if they hint at restructuring? What if her chest buzzed like a phone on a metal table? She noticed the tight band around her ribs and remembered surface. "I'm spinning on how this will go," she said, barely above a whisper. Sort: is this a decision, a plan, or a fear? It was a plan disguised as fear. Shrink: what 2-minute action clarifies reality or improves readiness? She stood, set a timer for 120 seconds, and wrote 3 bullet-free sentences: 1 achievement, 1 learning, 1 target. Step: she walked while she rehearsed those lines out loud, tracing a slow rectangle across her rug, heel to toe, feeling the fibers under her feet. When the timer chimed, the noise in her head had dropped 2 notches because her body now had evidence. She didn't solve her entire career. She crossed a bridge. Pause and scan yourself. The skin at your temples, is it cool or warm? The back of your neck, any residual tension like a string tuned too tight? Inhale gently, fill the lower floor of the torso, then a sip for the upper floor. Exhale longer than both and imagine stale air leaving through your shoulder blades. Now try the bridge on something small and live. An email you haven't sent, a call you're avoiding, a messy corner you keep seeing. Surface: I'm spinning on the reply to Dana. Sort: decision, plan, or fear? Likely a plan. Shrink: the next 2-minute move is to draft a 3-sentence outline. Step: walk to the sink and fill a glass while you dictate those sentences into your notes app. Feel the cool glass in your hand, the weight of water, the condensation against your skin. That texture is proof that you left the land of maybe. Still, some days the mind is a stubborn river carrying logs of old stories. That's when you climb the Emotional Alchemy Ladder. The ladder has 5 rungs: notice, normalize, name needs, nudge, nourish. Notice is honest sensation and state. There's a heaviness behind my breastbone. Mood is gray. Normalize tells your amygdala this weather is within human parameters. Of course I feel this after 3 nights of fractured sleep. Name needs makes a practical request to yourself: water, warmth, movement, human contact, completion of one small task. Nudge is a tiny mood shifter, not a leap. Move from anxious to neutral, not anxious to ecstatic. Nourish is the smallest act of replenishment afterward, so your body budget fills while your mind quiets. An anecdote from a hallway with blue carpet and fluorescent lights. Nor had sent a proposal and hadn't heard back in 2 days. Every time she passed the kitchenette, the smell of coffee made her stomach sour with dread. She started bargaining with reality in her head. Then she touched the cool steel of the fridge handle and grounded herself in sensation. Notice: heaviness in the belly, tight throat, shallow breath. Normalize: 2 days isn't doom. Silence is common midweek. Sleep was short last night. Name needs: water and 1 minute of movement. Nudge: instead of writing a grand follow-up, she picked a neutral reframe and a micro-action. She filled a mug, stepped into the stairwell, walked down 2 flights and up 2, counted 12 exhale steps, then typed a 1-line check-in, sharing 1 clarifying line on scope below, keen to sync whenever it's convenient. Nourish: she ate half a banana and sat by the window for 3 minutes so her eyes could find a horizon. 15 minutes later, the reply arrived. It wasn't magic, it was biology partnered. Overthinking won't like that you left the courtroom. It will tug at your sleeve with questions dressed as urgency. That's when you give it a job. I call it the attention bookmark. When you must pause mid-task, you plant a bookmark by writing 1 sentence that begins, "Next useful action is," and you place a low-stakes object, pen, paperclip, coin on your keyboard as a physical proxy. The mind will keep searching for closure if you don't give it a clean edge. The bookmark becomes that edge. When you return, your RAS recognizes the sentence, and you step back onto the track without the cost of re-immersion. This is how you prevent context switching from becoming a tax you pay with anxiety. Feel the pad of your index finger against your thumb. Roll it slowly. Notice the ridges like a topographic map. Hear the softest sound you can catch in the room, then the next softest, until quiet has layers. Overthinking is volume without fidelity. Sensation is fidelity without volume. The trade is worth it. A father-daughter story. Matteo was helping his 8-year-old Isla with homework. A word problem snagged them both. Isla's foot tapped fast, Matteo's jaw clenched. He heard his father's old impatient tone warming in his own throat. He caught it. Surface: we are both spinning. Sort: this is a plan. Shrink: the 2-minute action is to draw the problem as a picture. Step: he fetched 2 pencils, placed one in Isla's hand, and together they sketched the buses and passengers instead of arguing about numbers. Notice Isla's breath slowed, Matteo's shoulders dropped. Normalize: making a picture is allowed. Name needs: a glass of water for both. Nudge: a high five when they solved it. Nourish: 10 minutes of Lego after. Later, Matteo realized the ladder had changed the temperature of the whole evening. He hadn't become a different person. He had climbed 1 rung 5 times. Sometimes the loop is about identity. You wonder if you're the kind of person who follows through, who asks for what you need, who can be trusted. Loops like that are sticky because they reach into the self. Use the bridge and the ladder as identity practice. When you surface a loop and shrink it honestly, you cast a vote not only for calm, but for being a finisher. When you normalize an emotion and name a need, you cast a vote for being a caretaker of your inner life, not a tyrant. Identity is not declared. It's accrued through dozens of small receipts. Let's rehearse the ladder with your body as the stage. Sit a little taller, not rigid, just available. Notice the temperature of your hands. Are your fingertips cooler than your palms? Normalize whatever you find with one sentence. Bodies do this in afternoons. Name needs, maybe a stretch, a sip, a breath with a longer exhale. Nudge your state from whatever it is to one notch closer to workable by changing your visual field. Expand to lantern for 3 breaths, then narrow to 1 detail. Nourish with a simple pleasure, a ray of light on the wall, the smell of citrus, the feel of cotton against your skin, and let yourself register it for 10 counts. These are not luxuries, they are levers. Your brain's reticular activating system is listening. When you repeatedly feed it, next useful action is, it tags usefulness as salient and tones down catastrophic possibilities that don't pay rent. When you repeatedly normalize feelings, it tags emotion as information, not instruction. Neuroplasticity is not a seminar, it's repetition under emotion. The more you practice these moves in mild states, the more accessible they are when the weather turns and the wind pushes at your sternum like an impatient hand. A quick field drill for a real day. Pick the biggest mental knot you're carrying. Don't pick your life, pick a knot. Surface the loop in 1 line, sort it honestly. If it's a fear, something you can't act on directly, shrink scope to the smallest action that increases certainty. Ask a clarifying question, check a date, set a reminder to revisit in 48 hours. Step by pairing the action with motion. Tidy a small stack while you send the message. Stand on your porch while you make the call. Walk to the window while you schedule the calendar block. Then climb the ladder on the feeling that remains. You will not erase weather. You will become the room that can host it without flooding. A memory from a Sunday morning kitchen, sun across the countertop, a faint clink of cups, the smell of toast. Priya felt the familiar low cloud of Sunday scaries gather. She'd tried cheerleading herself in the past. It never stuck. This time she ran the ladder. Notice, dull pressure in the chest, slightly fluttery belly. Normalize, of course, unstructured time ending, meetings tomorrow, less sunlight this week. Name needs, warmth, plan, human voice. Nudge, brew tea, write the first 3 blocks for Monday, send 1 text to a friend to walk in the afternoon. Nourish, 10 minutes reading something beautiful on paper, no screens. She did those things in that order, feeling the mug warm her hands, the pen scrape the page, the afternoon light travels slowly across the floor. The cloud didn't evaporate. It thinned enough to see the day through it. We add 1 more micro tool to stabilize this habit. Call it the 2-minute sweep. 3 times a day, morning, midday, evening, you run a 2-minute timer and sweep your environment for 5 tiny completions that reduce cognitive drag. Close tabs, put the glass in the sink, stack papers, set clothes on a chair, move a post-it to the recycling. As you do the sweep, whisper 1 line, we finish small so big becomes possible. The sweep isn't about cleanliness, it's about signaling to your nervous system that ends exist and you can create them. Overthinking hates ends, it prefers circles. You are drawing lines. Check in with your senses again. The soundscape, what's the quietest thing, and then what's under that? The light, harsh or soft, warm or cold? The chair, does it cradle or press? Adjust 1 element by 1 notch toward comfort. Turn the lamp shade, open the window 2 fingers, place a cushion under a thigh bone that aches. Each micro-adjustment is a proof of agency. Agency is the antidote to helpless loops. A work story to close the loop. Val ran a small team that shipped weekly updates. Every Wednesday at 4 they held a review. The hour before, Val's mind used to spin on worst-case bugs. She tried white-knuckling it, the dread persisted. She shifted to practice. At 3, she surfaced. I'm spinning on what might break. Sort, fear, shrink. Run a 2-minute smoke test on the 2 riskiest paths. Step, walk the corridor while running the tests on her phone. Ladder next. Notice sweet sour taste in her mouth, shoulders lifted. Normalize, release days make bodies loud. Name needs, water, a deep sigh, 10 jumping jacks behind a closed door. Nudge, lantern eyes for 3 breaths, then spotlight on 1 appreciative sentence for the team. Nourish, after the meeting, 10 minutes of outside light. Over months, the dread shrank from a storm to a forecast. The weather didn't stop being weather, Val became a better room. Identity is sneaky. It will try to claim, I am an overthinker, not useful, try this instead. I am the awareness that can build a bridge and climb a ladder. Say it now softly, feel how your chest reacts. If resistance arrives, treat resistance as weather too. The person who can notice their loops, name their category, shrink a move, and pair it with motion is not a victim of thought, they're a translator. Translators don't erase languages, they help meaning cross. Tonight before sleep, do a closing ritual of 30 seconds. Sit at the edge of your bed, place 1 hand on your heart and 1 on your belly. Whisper the day's bridge. Today I surfaced X, sorted it as Y, shrank it to Z and stepped. Then whisper the ladder. I noticed, normalized, named a need, nudged and nourished. It will feel modest. Good, modest rituals are the ones you keep. They lay track for the morning train. Once more, let your attention rest on your breath as if it were a small boat on a calm lake at dusk. The air is cooler now, the jaw is softer, the room holds you. The mind may still offer loops. Smile at it like you de-smile at an earnest child with too many drawings. Thank you, you say. Let's put 1 on the fridge and do 1 real thing. Your body understands, your day will too. Remember the center line through all of this. You are the awareness, not the emotion, not the thought swarm, not the forecast. You are the room that installs bridges and ladders so weather has a way through. Overthinking can visit, it cannot sign the lease. The world is engineered to fracture your focus. Pings split the morning. Tabs multiply until your screen looks like a skyline. You intend to start the hard thing, but your finger drifts to the easy thing, and a tiny hit of novelty replaces a solid hour of momentum. This part teaches you how to build a focus sanctuary anywhere, and how to ride your work in steady waves instead of sprints that burn you out. You'll learn 2 frameworks, the 15-3-1 focus wave and the distraction triage. The focus wave turns attention into a rhythm your biology enjoys. Distraction triage keeps you honest when the world or your own impulses knock at the door. You don't need a cabin in the woods. You need a small ritual, a timer, and a way to close loops as you go. Begin with your senses. Feel the back of your chair against your shoulder blades, the precise points where fabric meets skin. Notice the coolness of air at the rim of your nostrils, the warmer air as you exhale past your teeth. Let your jaw loosen and your tongue settle like a heavy leaf at the bottom of a cup. We are prepping your nervous system for steady effort, not perfect effort. Perfection is a spike and crash. Steady effort is a tide. The 15-3-1 focus wave works like this. 15 minutes of spotlight on a single task. 3 minutes of lantern to widen, breathe, and micro-reset. 1 minute to close, a tangible end to the wave. Then repeat. In the 15, you choose 1 and only 1 target. In the 3, you stand, breathe 4-4-6, and do 2 simple movements, neck roll and shoulder sweep, to keep blood flowing so your prefrontal cortex stays online. In the 1, you write 1 sentence beginning with next useful action is, and you physically mark completion with a small gesture, a dot in a notebook, a pen placed horizontally across the page, a coin flipped and set. That ending tells your RAS that work has edges. Edges quiet the hunt for novelty. An anecdote from a cluttered desk with 2 monitors. Devin is a product manager with meetings pinned like thumbtacks across the day. Between them sits a document titled Roadmap V3 that never gets the attention it deserves. He opens the doc at 10:06, glances at Slack, then email, then the doc again. The old loop is back. Dip, distract, return, repeat. This time he tries a focus wave. He slides his phone into a drawer, closes all but the dock, and sets a timer for 15. Before he begins, he lowers his shoulders and does one 2-floor breath, then whispers, "One task." The first 3 minutes feel like swimming upstream. His fingers hover above Command Tab like a homing pigeon. At minute 7, the river quiets. He finishes the draft of one section. The timer chirps. He stands, rotates his neck slowly, shoulder to shoulder, then exhales for 6 twice. In the 1-minute close, he writes, "Next useful action is add 2 examples to E2," and draws a dot. Round 2 begins. By 10:58, 2 waves later, the section that lived in purgatory lives on paper. Nothing mystical happened. He rode attention like a tide, not like a rescue mission. Notice your own environment now. Is there a faint hum from a nearby device? Let that beep or buzz become the metronome for a single wave. Pick something small but meaningful you've been avoiding, replying to a specific email, outlining a paragraph, reconciling a receipt. Set a 15-minute timer. Put your phone face down across the room. Whisper the target. Outline 3 subheads, or draft first 2 sentences. As you start, keep your eyes in soft spotlight. Look at one corner of the task window to anchor yourself physically. When the urge to hop tabs rises, like an itch behind the eyes, label it. There's an urge. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6 as your fingers keep moving. The urge will crest and fall in under 90 seconds if you don't feed it. Your job is not to be a statue. Your job is to make the next keystroke. Now the second framework, distraction triage. Distractions arrive in 3 species: urgent, useful, and urge. Urgent ones truly cannot wait without damage. A call from the school, an active outage, a human at your door. Useful ones look important but can be parked. Messages, ideas, tasks that feel good to touch but steal momentum. Urge is the pure habit loop. You check because checking is what you do. The triage rule is simple. Urgent gets addressed with a 1-breath boundary, 1 sentence to contain it and schedule a return. Useful gets captured in a parking lot, a visible sheet where you drop tasks without feeding them. Urge gets the 90-second weather rule: mark, breathe, watch, continue. A story from a kitchen table turned office. Sahana freelances. Mid-wave, her phone lights up. Hey, quick thought on the logo. Urgent, useful, or urge? Useful. She feels the pull in her fingers and the fizz in her chest, the hope that this message will deliver dopamine and clarity. She triggers distraction triage. Appreciation, truth, offer in 1 breath. Saw your note, heads down until noon. I'll reply with 2 options then. She writes client logo thoughts, reply W2 options in her parking lot, takes 1 slow exhale, and returns to her wave. Later, when she opens the parking lot, she has a neat stack of useful, not urgent tasks waiting like well-behaved dogs. Her day stops feeling like a fire drill. Check the temperature of your palms. Are they cool and a little dry or slightly damp with effort? Let the sensation anchor you. Sensory detail is not a detour, it's a bridge. Your brain is a prediction machine, and when you give it clear, embodied markers, chair pressure, cool air, pen weight, it tags the present as safe enough for continued effort. That's focus, biologically, safety, and specificity. Some days the world won't grant you a quiet hour. The focus sanctuary is how you create one. It has three elements: a boundary cue, a body cue, and a visual cue. Boundary cue, a phrase you say to others and yourself. I'm in a focus wave until 30. Body cue, a consistent posture and breath to signal entry. Sit tall, roll shoulders back, 1446. Visual cue, clear the immediate field, one tab, one sheet of paper, or a window placed full screen. These cues form an entry ritual that takes 30 seconds and tells every part of you, this matters now. Another scene, fluorescent ceiling, a low meeting table, 8 people, too many laptops. Malik leads weekly planning. The first 15 minutes always devolve into status whiplash. He introduces focus sanctuary to the team without making it weird. Let's do a 15-3-1 to shape Q4 priorities, he says. 15 to write, 3 to stretch, 1 to converge. He has them each open a single doc and write 3 sentences on their top priority without chatting. At minute 15, they stand, roll shoulders, breathe 4-4-6 twice. In the close minute, each writes, next useful action is, then they share the sentences only. The room's temperature drops from hectic to workable. By the end of the hour, they have decisions, not noise. No one meditated. They installed edges. Microdrill to train your biology, the focus entry breath. Inhale through the nose for 4, hold for a gentle 2 while you straighten your spine as if a string lifted your crown, then exhale through pursed lips for 7 as you let the shoulder blades slide down your back. On the hold, gently press your tongue to the roof of your mouth behind your teeth. That small pressure engages a circuit that quiets jaw tension. Do 2 rounds before each wave. Pair it with a sentence. This is the inch. Attention loves inches. Acres overwhelm. What about days when your energy is tattered and your inner critic is loud? You use an add-on, the friction audit. Whisper before the wave, what is the smallest friction I can remove in 30 seconds? Maybe it's filling your water bottle, nudging the chair so your hips don't ache, closing the extra tab showing the news, or moving the plant so your eye can rest on green. Remove 1 grain of sand from the gears. The machine says thank you by purring. Feel the exact weight of your device in your hands if you're on a phone or laptop, the way gravity tugs gently at wrists and forearms. Notice the temperature around your ankles. It's often cooler there. When you tag specifics, your RAS quiets the siren's song of elsewhere. Elsewhere is where distraction lives. Consider an intimate space, late evening, sofa light warm, a partner next to you sighing through their own screen fatigue. You intend to read, but your thumb knows the route to endless scroll. Try a home version of distraction triage. Urge arises, you mark it. Breathe 4-4-6 once. Whisper, I'm having the thought that scrolling is rest. Then choose one nudge. Put the phone in a different room and read 3 pages, or set a 5-minute timer for a slow walk down the hall and back with bare feet on cool floor, feeling each step. When the timer chimes, you may still reach for your phone, but the spell has been thinned. Rest is not a glowing rectangle. Rest is a nervous system that realizes it can soften. Your identity shifts here. You are not a distracted person. You are the awareness that rides waves and triages pulls. You are the one who installs edges. That identity becomes real not by slogans but by receipts. 4 dots in a notebook, 3 next useful action is, lines, 1 parking lot that keeps you honest. The receipts are small. That's why they're powerful. Small fits inside stress. A story from the threshold of dawn. Annika wanted to write, truly write, not just think about writing. Her mornings started with intention and ended with dishes. One day she rearranged. A mug, a chair by a window, a small lamp, a notebook, a pen with heft. Focus sanctuary, boundary cue, writing wave until 7:00. Body cue, sit, 2 rounds of entry breath, visual cue, page only. She wrote for 15, lantern 3, by looking out the window to widen, trees, sky, the far buildings, soft reflection, then closed with 1 sentence for tomorrow. She left the notebook open with the pen placed across the page like a bridge. Days stacked. She didn't produce a novel in a week. She produced a new identity, a person who writes waves. Her life bent around the waves like a river around a rock. There's a practical snag worth honoring, interruptions you can't avoid. A toddler cries, a delivery arrives, a manager pings with a real emergency. This is not failure, this is life. The recovery move is the re-entry whisper. As you return to your task, place your hand flat on the desk or the page, feel the texture, wood grain, paper, tooth, cool laminate, and whisper, picking up at, then read the last sentence you wrote or the last line of code you touched. Start the timer again. This is a handshake with your nervous system, a gentle agreement to resume without drama. Check your breath right now. Is the inhale thin? Take a fuller one, as if you're smelling something you love from across the room. Let the exhale trail longer than you think possible without strain. Notice how the edges of your vision soften when the exhale lingers. That softness is not laziness, it is permission for nuance. Nuance is where good work lives. You might worry that 15 minutes is too short for real work. It is. 15 minutes is a Trojan horse. Once you're inside the gate, momentum takes the reins. If you truly need longer horizons, stitch waves together. 15-3-1, 15-3-1, then a longer break. The ratio respects biology, effort, release, closure. It's the same pattern your muscles use in interval training and your emotions use in storms. Bring in a brief workplace vignette. Ellie and Tom pair program. Their afternoons drift into chat and micro-debugging. They try a shared wave. 15 on the scheduler bug, Ellie says. They set the timer out loud, share a parking lot note where they drop every off-topic thought, and agree on a re-entry whisper if someone knocks. The timer is a third teammate who keeps them honest. At minute 13, Tom's attention frays. He triages an urge and lets it pass by watching his breath for 20 counts while his hands still type. At 19 minutes, after a close, they high-five lightly. The bug is still alive, but now it is cornered. Progress is palpable. They are not spinning, they are carving. A micro-practice to end your day, the 3 waves log. Before you shut down, write 3 lines. Wave 1, task, outcome, next useful action. Repeat for waves 2 and 3. Then close your notebook with 2 hands, feeling the cover press against your palms. Tell your nervous system, we're done. Sleep is easier when your brain believes someone competent is on night shift. That someone is you. You will forget all of this at times. You will fall into a rabbit hole and surface 40 minutes later with the taste of stale novelty on your tongue. Treat forgetting as weather, mark it. Breathe. Close 1 tiny loop right then, trash a tab, write a sentence, capture a task in the parking lot. The goal isn't to be a monk. The goal is to shrink the time between drift and return. Drift is human. Return is trained. Feel the room again. A faint draft at your ankles or a pocket of warmth around your thighs. The chair supporting the weight you usually ignore. The light, blue or amber, pooling on a wall. Bring your attention to 1 square foot of your environment and make it nicer by 1 notch. Straighten the paper, angle the lamp, place a glass of water within reach. You just built a tiny sanctuary. You can carry it into a cafe, a cubicle, a kitchen table. Stillness isn't the world's gift to you. It's your gift to the world through the quality of your attention. Leave this part with 1 commitment. Ride one focus wave today, triage one distraction, write one, next useful action is line, that's it. Small, repeatable, physical. The identity grows from there. You are the awareness that can create edges even when chaos presses its face against the window. People will call you disciplined. You'll know the truth. You practice tides. You are the awareness, not the itch, not the ping, not the unfinished list. You are the room where waves rise and fall, and work appears like coastline at low tide, clear, walkable, yours. You won't win every moment. You'll snap at someone you love, freeze in a meeting, or spend an hour sedated by a feed you don't even enjoy. This part is not about avoiding those slips. It's about mastering what happens next. Recovery speed is a superpower. When you shorten the time between I lost myself and I'm back, your life tilts toward trust, trust in your own hands on the wheel. You'll learn two frameworks here, the Rapid Reset Cascade and the Aftershock Audit. The first gets you back into yourself in under 3 minutes without shame. The second turns the messy aftermath into growth and repair instead of rumination and self-punishment. Together, they make you anti-fragile, not unbreakable, but better because of the bend. Start by noticing the echoes your nervous system carries after a spike. There's usually heat in the face, a buzz beneath the skin, a stiffness in the chest like a shirt you forgot to unbutton. Find one of those now. Place a hand over it, not like a clamp, but like a warm towel. Breathe the two-floor breath, belly, ribs, long exhale, soft jaw, heavy tongue. When you put a hand to sensation, you stop negotiating with a courtroom in your head and start partnering with the body that actually drives the car. Your biology wants closure. Let's give it a root. The Rapid Reset Cascade has 3 moves: recognize, release, redirect. Recognize is a single sentence that names the state without commentary. Hijack happened. I snapped. I'm flooded. This is not confession. It's a GPS pin. Release is a short sequence that discharges the leftover charge from your system. A physiological sigh, 2 inhales through the nose, 1 full, 1 sip, and a long exhale through the mouth, followed by a 30-second shake or wall press. Redirect is the smallest next action that realigns you with your values in the same arena you slipped. Not tomorrow, not later, now. You bring the energy home. Picture an evening kitchen. The room smells like garlic and warm tomatoes. A pot bubbles. Your partner asks an innocent question about a plan you forgot. Your spine stiffens, words sharpen, and before you can steer, you say the line you promised you'd retire. Silence falls like a wet towel. Heat blooms across your face. In the past, you'd fold into shame or mount a defense. Tonight you run the cascade. Recognize, hijack happened. You step to the sink, turn on cool water, and do one physiological sigh, then another. You feel the back of your throat release on the exhale as if a small valve has opened. You place both palms flat against the counter and press, feeling your chest engage and your shoulder blades glide down. 30 seconds. Then redirect, you turn, meet their eyes and say, I don't like how I just spoke. Let me try again. 10 words, not a TED talk. The temperature shifts. You add, I forgot the plan. Here's what I can do now. Text them, ask for a new time. That's the redirect. You didn't undo the spike. You turned it into a bridge. Check your own body now. Is there a pocket of cool air near your wrists? Can you feel the grain of the surface under your forearm? Sensation is a ramp out of shame. Shame hates specificity. It feeds on vague fog. When you tether to tactile detail, you pull attention from self-attack to self-return. The cascade is a choreography of that return. 5 breaths, 30 seconds of movement, 1 sentence of repair. Let's make the release phase yours. If the physiological side doesn't land, try the 4-7-8. Inhale 4, hold 7, exhale 8. Or try the orienting sweep. Turn your head slowly left to right as if scanning a horizon, letting your eyes trace edges, doorframe, plant, cup, until your neck unspools. For movement, pick your style. Shake out hands and forearms as if flicking off water. Stand up and do slow calf raises. Press your back against a wall and push as if moving the building an inch. 30 seconds is enough. You're not working out. You're telling your muscles the tiger left. A work story will ground this. During a stand-up, Diego misread a teammate's tone and cut her off twice. The room went brittle. His chest hummed, his ears burned, recognize flooded. He took one lantern breath, then said to the room, "Give me 10 seconds. Camera off, 2 physiological sighs, wall press. Redirect, camera on, I steamrolled you, sorry, finish your thought." She did. The meeting exhaled. Later, he wrote one line in his log, Cascade at 10:14, recovered in 90s. That receipt mattered more than the stumble. It confirmed an identity. I'm someone who returns. Identity is the quiet prize here. You are the awareness who can catch, reset, and re-enter. You are not the mistake or the mood. Say it softly, even if part of you doesn't believe. I am the awareness that returns. Feel what your ribs do as you say it. If they lift a millimeter, that's biology nodding. Now the second framework, the Aftershock audit. The spike is over, the room is quiet, your brain wants to ruminate or rush past. The audit takes 3 minutes to convert wobble into wisdom and repair. It has 4 prompts. What happened in my body? What was the real need under my reaction? What's one repair I can offer to myself or another? What will I do in the first 10 seconds next time? You write 1 sentence each. Keep the pen moving. This is not confession, it's calibration. An anecdote from a corridor that smells faintly of printer ink. May botched a demo. She clicked the wrong tab, lost her thread, and felt her throat close. The client was polite. The call ended without fireworks. After, May's inner critic sharpened its knives. She walked to the window, touched the cool glass, and ran an audit on a sticky note. Body, jaw clenched, breath high, hands cold. Need, safety, more reps with this flow. Repair, send a short follow-up with the correct sequence and a 1-minute screen record. Next 10, place the 3 tabs I need in order before starting. She did the repair in 10 minutes. The client replied, "Thanks, this helps." The next demo, solid. She didn't become fearless. She became specific. Taste the air again, faintly metallic if you're near electronics, or neutral like paper and dust if the room is still. Let that taste cue a small reset now. Recognize where your mind wants to go, old tapes, what-ifs, and bring it back with 1 dot on a page or 1 hand pressed flat to the table. Release the breath. Redirect to the smallest honorable move available in the next 60 seconds. You're building grooves for later. A home vignette. Ravi promised himself he wouldn't check email after dinner. At 9:07 p.m. he broke the promise, saw a critical note, and spent 30 minutes doom-scrolling his future. Shame arrived dressed as resolve. Tomorrow I'll be perfect. He caught himself. Recognize, I slipped. Release, phone down, 2 physiological sighs, 10 slow steps barefoot on cool kitchen tile, feeling each toe plant. Redirect, he put the phone in the drawer and read 2 pages out loud to his daughter. After she slept, he ran an audit. Body, tight forehead, buzzing chest. Need, closure for the day. Repair, write a 1-line parking lot for morning and a 2-sentence reply draft. Next 10, phone in drawer after dinner, not pocket. He wrote the line, drafted the reply opening, and closed the notebook, pressing the cover with 2 palms. Sleep came easier. The next evening, he didn't need to be perfect. He needed to open a drawer. You might worry that self-forgiveness lets you off the hook. It doesn't. Forgiveness is not a loophole, it's a lever. It returns capacity to the system so you can repair with integrity. When the body is not burning resources on self-attack, the prefrontal cortex comes back online and can plan, apologize, and adjust. Neuroscience translates to kindness here: longer exhale, softer jaw, specific action. Add a micro drill to crystallize this, the 3R breath note. After a cascade, write a single line starting with R right arrow R on a small card you keep in your wallet or notes app. Recognize, release, redirect. Keep it so brief it's almost a riddle. Later, when your future self doubts your capacity, you have proof. Proof changes brains. Let's train the redirect in a low-stakes way right now. Call to mind a tiny area where you've been harsh to yourself today. Maybe you sighed at the mirror. Maybe you replayed a sentence you wish you said differently. Recognize it with a neutral line. Do one physiological sigh. Then redirect to a kindness you can execute in 60 seconds. Drink water, send a thinking of you text, stretch your calves against a wall, tidy the nearest square foot, step outside and look at something far away. Feel the micro shift. That's not avoidance, it's steering. The Aftershock audit has a sibling for relationships, the repair loop. It's 3 parts and under 2 minutes. Acknowledge impact, share intention, offer repair. It sounds like this: I see I cut you off twice in that meeting. The impact is you felt steamrolled. My intention was to move us along, not to minimize you. I can ensure you go first on that topic next time, and I've added it to the agenda. Say it once. Don't add a pile of excuses. Let your tone be steady, your breath long, your eyes warm. Repairs rebuild the bridge faster than silent mea culpas. A story at work. Tessa missed a deadline and ghosted for a day because she was ashamed. The next morning she wanted to hide. Instead, she ran the loop. I see I missed the Friday handoff and dropped off. That likely made your weekend heavier. My intention was not to dodge, I froze. I've finished the draft and I've blocked 30 minutes daily for the next 2 weeks to prevent this repeat. Anything else I can do to repair? Her manager exhaled. Trust didn't shatter, it recalibrated. Tessa didn't earn that with punishment. She earned it with clarity and a longer exhale. Check your skin temperature along your forearms. Cooler now. Feel the chair under your thighs, the pressure points you rarely notice, the way the seat quietly holds you up. Let that support be a metaphor you can actually feel. You are supported. You are not alone with your reset. The world won't always clap when you recover. That's okay. Your nervous system will. Sometimes the aftershock is grief. You won't reset to cheerful. You'll reset to honest. The cascade still works, but the redirect shrinks to place a hand on your chest and text a friend. The audit answers will be short and tender. Body, heavy, slow, need, companionship. Repair, let someone in. Next 10, stand in sunlight. The point isn't brightness, it's movement toward life. Here is a field sequence to practice when you close this chapter. Stand if you can. Soften your knees. Recognize one slip from this week without drama. Whisper it. Do the physiological sigh twice. Shake out your hands, then your arms, as if you're dispersing static. Let your cheeks wobble with sound on the exhale if you dare, a small horse-like flutter that unhooks jaw tension. Redirect by choosing a 60-second act that honors who you want to be tonight. Do it now. Feel the micro-dignity of completion arrive like warm tea in your chest. That sensation is the currency we're collecting. You used to believe calm meant never messing up. Now you're learning calm means trusting your return. That trust rewires your reticular activating system to look for exits in hot moments and for repair paths after. It notices the cool countertop, the horizon through the window, the breath like a valve opening. It tags those cues as relevant. Over time, your default becomes, "We can come back." That's a life-changing sentence. Close with the anchor we've used from the start. Feel the edges of the room with lantern eyes. Narrow to one corner of the page with spotlight. Place your hand on your sternum and feel the faint drum there. Inhale softly, exhale longer. Say quietly and truly, "I am the awareness that returns." Weather will throw itself at the glass. You will tap the cascade, run the audit, and walk back into yourself like a house you trust in the dark. You don't talk to anyone the way you talk to yourself when you think no one is listening. The whisper behind your ribs is quick with verdicts. Too late, not enough, don't try. That voice doesn't need to disappear, it needs a job. This part is about training your inner narrator so it becomes a coach under pressure, not a heckler. You'll learn 2 frameworks that you can run in the heat of a moment or at the quiet edge of a day: the language calibration loop and the evidence ledger. The first rewrites sentences that speed your heart and shrink your options. The second collects receipts so your brain stops borrowing fear from a past that no longer fits. Together, they turn self-talk from static into strategy. Feel the inside of your mouth for a breath. The tongue sits heavy now, and the air cools your soft palate as it passes. Notice your cheeks soften by a millimeter. That tiny shift matters. When the face relaxes, your nervous system hears, not danger, and the prefrontal cortex can hold nuance again. Nuance is where better language lives. We start here because words ride breath. You can't steer the sentence if the breath is breaking. The language calibration loop has 3 moves: label, level, laid. Label is a clean tag on the thought that's flooding the system in the format that creates distance. I'm having the thought that I always mess up presentations. Level downgrades catastrophes to specifics using a 0-10 scale and 2 qualifiers: likelihood and impact. Likelihood 4, impact 3. Lead is one sentence that guides behavior toward a value, not away from fear. So I'll rehearse the first minute twice and ask one clarifying question. You loop through label, level, laid in under 60 seconds. The point isn't perfection, it's reducing panic enough for wise action to fit through the door. A story in a hallway that smells faintly of dry erase marker. Nina is minutes from a pitch. As she checks the clicker, a slick of cold moves across her palms. The old tape launches, "They'll see through you, you're not big league." Her throat tightens. She feels for the cool metal of the doorknob and runs the loop. Label, I'm having the thought that I'm an imposter. She draws one slow inhale for 4, holds for 4, exhales for 6. Level, likelihood I bomb. 3, impact if it's bumpy. 4, recoverable. Breath again, jaw softens. Laid, open with the customer story, then ask for their metrics. The door opens. No miracle, just better words steering a body that can move. Taste the air. Is it neutral like paper and dust, or does it carry a faint metallic note from electronics? Let that taste cue a body check. Press your fingertips together and notice the ridges, a small mountain range of skin. The more specific your attention, the less room there is for global self-judgment to flood you. Global language, always, never, everyone, signals the amygdala to shout. Specific language invites the cortex to speak. That's the hinge we're greasing. The second framework is the evidence ledger. It's a simple 2-column practice you keep in a notebook or notes app: predictions versus outcomes. Each time your inner narrator predicts doom or incompetence, you log a 1-line prediction. After the event, you log the outcome as objectively as the minutes of a meeting. Over days, the ledger becomes a personalized dataset that your reticular activating system can't ignore. You are training your filter with numbers and sentences it trusts, your own. One more component makes it powerful. For each entry, you write a 1% truer thought, a sentence that is slightly more accurate than the fear, not a leap to sunshine. I always choke becomes, I rushed the first answer, then recovered by asking a question. Truer by 1% is believable. Belief is the gate. An anecdote from a tiny apartment table, pockmarked with ring stains. Yi is a new team lead. Every Monday their brain runs a loud script. You're not a leader, you're a lucky accident with a calendar. They start the ledger. Prediction, team will find our stand-up chaotic and lose confidence. Outcome, we finished in 14 minutes, named one blocker, and Ritu messaged, this is clearer. 1% truer thought. I'm learning to facilitate, clarity happened. 3 weeks later, the running total is 7 predictions of doom, 0 realized disasters, 7 workable outcomes. Yi doesn't become cocky, they become calibrated. The ledger didn't flatter them, it freed them from a superstition disguised as humility. Bring your attention to your breath again. Inhale like you're smelling something warm from the next room. Exhale as if fogging a mirror no one needs clear. Feel your shoulders descend a notch. Now run a quick language calibration loop on something live. Perhaps a message from a manager that reads, can we chat? Label, I'm having the thought that I'm in trouble. Level, likelihood 5, impact variable, create specificity. We have 3 possible topics. Lead, I'll jot one question I want answered and bring my updated timelines. That one sentence shifts your posture. The spine rises, the jaw loosens, choice returns. The science that sits under this is short and useful. Language is not decoration, it's instruction. Your RAS tags terms like always, never, everyone, and disaster as high priority and filters your world to prove them true. When you feed it scaled language, likelihood 4, impact 3, first minute, clarifying question, it shifts salience towards specifics and options. Neuroplasticity is repetition under emotion. Each time you run the loop in a hot state, you give your nervous system a rep it will find the next time faster. There's a kitchen story to catch the home version. Leela and her partner Sim are packing for a trip. The zipper jams, Sim mutters, I always break things. The air goes sharp. Leela feels heat behind her eyes. The phrase snags an old thread about her father's temper. She catches herself and invites a tiny shared practice. Label, she asks, palm warm on the suitcase. Sim sighs, I'm having the thought that I always break things. Leela says, level, Sim huffs, likelihood I ruin the suitcase. 1, impact, 2, it's a zipper. They both exhale longer. Lead, we'll watch a 1-minute zipper hack and try soap. 30 seconds later, the suitcase closes. The method didn't just fix nylon, it fixed the tone in the room. Scan your own jaw again. Part your molars a fraction. Feel your tongue drop from the roof of your mouth. Let your eyes widen to lantern for 2 breaths until you can sense the edges of the room, window, doorframe, light pooling on a wall. Then narrow to spotlight on one small texture, a seam on your sleeve, the grain of a table. This switch primes you for the ledger, wide to collect, narrow to write. Pull up a note and run a low-stakes entry now. Prediction, if I ask for clarification on the project, they'll think I don't know what I'm doing. Outcome, when it happens, will likely read, they appreciated clarity, scope solidified, next steps clear. The 1% truer thought waits for you on the other side. You're creating a future kindness for yourself. Sometimes the inner narrator borrows other people's voices. A teacher's raised eyebrow, a parent's sigh, a boss's casual hum. When those ghosts show up, you add a sibling micro tool, the 3 chairs. In your mind's eye, place 3 chairs in a small, sunlit room, ghost voice, inner coach, and observer. Let the ghost speak 1 sentence. Then let your inner coach respond with 1 sentence that begins with, even if I stumble, I can ask for a beat and continue. Finally, as observer, narrate the scene in neutral terms. There's a body here breathing, a thought, a choice. 30 seconds. The point is not to win an argument with the past. It's to seat the part of you who chooses in the present. A work vignette with fluorescent hum and the smell of microwave leftovers. Omar ships a weekly report. He's late 2 hours. The old tape, you're unreliable. He opens the ledger, writes the prediction he's midair in, then runs the loop. Label, I'm having the thought that I'm unreliable. Level, likelihood of reputational damage. 2. Impact, manageable. Lead, send a simple note now with ETA and 1 insight to show value. He types, report at 3 p.m., flagging 1 early trend, sign-ups spike after 8 p.m., details to follow. His chest loosens by a notch. 2 hours later, the report lands. He logs the outcome. The weekly story begins to bend. Feel the temperature along your forearms, cooler at the wrists, warmer near the elbow crease. Notice the fabric against your skin, rough or smooth, weighty or light. This sensory fidelity is your ally. When you replace global narratives with local truth, this texture, this breath, this sentence, your system leaves the courtroom and re-enters the room. That's where better choices live. Here's a micro-practice to install the loop, the 1-line rehearsal. 3 times today, doorways, elevator, kettle, you whisper a single label, level, lead on whatever is loudest in your mind. Label, I'm having the thought I'm behind. Level, likelihood 6, impact 5. Lead, set a 15-3-1 wave and start. It takes under 10 seconds. Reps turn into reflex. You will run into heavy weather, comparison. A colleague lands praise, your chest contracts as if air were a scarce resource. Run the comparator cleanse with the ledger. Prediction, they're outpacing me, I'll fade. Outcome last month when you thought that about someone else. We collaborated, I learned a method, my work improved. 1% truer thought, their win hints at a path, I can ask 1 how question. Then lead, send a 2-line note, saw X, loved Y curious, what's your process for Z? 1 tip would help. Your internal chemistry will insist you are shrinking. The truth is you are growing a different muscle, self-respect that doesn't require someone else to shrink for you to breathe. A personal story stitched with the smell of rain on hot pavement. Eli trained for a 10K the night before the race, thunder rolled, and the city announced a delay. Eli's mind flooded. You're not an athlete, you'll finish last, people will watch you fail. He put a palm on his chest and felt the thud, fast but strong. Loop time, label, I'm having the thought that I'm pretending. Level, likelihood of last place, 1, impact if I walk a hill, 0. Lead, run the first mile slow, high-five 1 kid with a sign. The next morning he ran, he walked, he high-fived, he finished mid-pack. Ledger entry, finished, lungs worked, smile lasted. 1% truer thought, I move my body in public now. The identity that settled wasn't runner. It was person who keeps promises to himself. That stick through rainy Tuesdays and quiet Sundays. Check your breath, let it widen the lower floor of your torso, then the upper, and leave longer than both. On the exhale, whisper, I am the awareness hearing this voice. You are not trying to erase the inner narrator. You are promoting the observer and hiring a coach. You're changing the org chart, not firing the staff. Add 1 last tool to fasten this into your day, the language audit bookmark. On a sticky note or phone lock screen, write 3 global to specific swaps you default to. Always write arrow, often sometimes. Never right arrow rarely. Everyone right arrow a few people. When a spike hits, you glance and swap in real time. Everyone hates this idea becomes a few people look unconvinced. That change is microscopic and massive. Microscopic in ink, massive in physiology. Your heart rate will show you the difference. A closing drill to print the ledger into your hands. Take 30 seconds. Write 2 columns on whatever's near. In the left, prediction. If I speak up on this call, I'll sound dumb. In the right, leave a blank line for outcome. Under the prediction, write 1% truer thought you could believe now. If I speak up and stumble, I can say, let me rephrase. Fold the paper once and put it under your keyboard or in your pocket. You just made a promise to revisit reality. Reality is kinder than the courtroom most days. Look around, the light in your room, cool or warm, lands on a wall. Your chair supports you without asking questions. Your lungs keep rhythm. You're not behind, you're here. The inner narrator will speak again soon. Good. You're ready with label level laid. You're ready with a ledger that tells the truth in small lines. You don't need to shout yourself into confidence. You need to speak to yourself like someone you trust. Say it once more, softer. You are the awareness, not the sentence, not the old tape, not the borrowed voice. You are the room. The weather in this room is influenced by your words. Today, you choose language that widens windows and unlocks doors. Today, you collect one. There's a difference between feeling better and living truer. Calm is wonderful. Alignment is oxygen. You've learned to steady the breath, widen attention, and steer language. Now you'll anchor those skills to what actually matters so your choices stop drifting with every gust of mood or pressure. This part gives you 2 frameworks, the North Star map and the 1% courage reps. The map turns values into visible coordinates you can navigate under stress. The reps train your nervous system to cross the tiny gap between knowing and doing, even when your stomach flips. Together, they make authenticity practical, not a slogan, a route. Start in your body so the map isn't theoretical. Place one hand on your chest and one on your lower belly. Inhale softly until the lower hand lifts. Sip a little more air so the upper hand widens. Then exhale like fogging a mirror, long enough that your shoulders drift down without being told. Notice the temperature of the air at your nostrils. Cool in, warmer out. We are teaching your system that this next work is safe. When your body feels safe, your prefrontal cortex will risk honesty. The North Star map has 3 pieces: name, narrow, and convert. Name is choosing 3 values that, if honored most days, would make you proud of the way you move through the world. Narrow is turning those into behavior tests you can actually pass. Convert is translating each test into 1 daily verb, so your calendar becomes a mirror of your values, not a museum of other people's priorities. A quick scene. In a small apartment with light pooling on a wooden floor, Ari sat with a notebook and wrote a list that looked like a bumper sticker graveyard. Integrity, excellence, kindness, growth. Useful words empty until lived. He ran the map. Name, he circled 3: honesty, craft, care, narrow. Honesty became say the true thing kindly within 24 hours. Craft became ship 1 improved iteration a day. Care became protect sleep and show up for 1 person daily. Convert, honesty, right arrow, speak. Craft, right arrow, ship. Care, right arrow, tend. 3 verbs. By noon, he had practiced them all. Spoke 1 clear boundary, shipped 1 improved paragraph, tended by calling his sister for 8 minutes while walking in light rain. He didn't become a new person. He became the person he already was, more often. Check your jaw and let the molars part a sliver. Feel the slight glossy cool of saliva as your tongue settles low. Sensation keeps you here while you begin your own map. Name 3 values that matter this season, not forever. Seasons change, maps update. Whisper them. Now narrow them into 1-sentence tests. If I honored courage today, what would it look like in 20 words? Your nervous system needs specificity so it can signal yes/no without drama. Convert each into a verb you can put on a calendar invite title. If belonging is a value, text 1 honest appreciation. If health is a value, walk outside in daylight 15 minutes. The verbs are tiny on purpose. You don't prove values with grand gestures. You accumulate proof with repetition under real weather. Here's where people stumble. Values feel expensive in the moment. Saying the true thing might risk eyebrows. Protecting sleep might disappoint a friend. Shipping might expose imperfection. That's why you pair the map with the 1% courage reps. Courage is a physiology before it's a philosophy. The rep sequence is 4 moves you can do anywhere. Find the edge, set the scale, take the inch, seal the rep. Find the edge means scanning your day for a choice that makes your stomach flutter by 1 notch. Not terror, edge. Set the scale means rating your fear and your value on 0-10. Take the inch is acting for 10 seconds inside the value, not outside the fear. Seal the rep is marking completion with breath, touch, and language so your system records, we did it. An anecdote in a hallway that smells like printer ink and lemon cleaner. Taryn dreaded asking her manager for a role shift. The idea made her palms slick. Find the edge. The flutter hit at the thought of a 5-minute chat after stand-up. Set the scale. Fear 7, value 9, growth. Take the inch. Not a 30-minute proposal, a 10-second sentence. Could we discuss a path toward X this quarter? Seal the rep. After she said it, she placed her hand on the doorframe, felt the cool paint, took 1 slow exhale to 6 and whispered, rep sealed. The manager nodded and booked 15 minutes. That night, Taryn wrote 1 line in her evidence ledger, prediction avoidance forever, outcome conversation scheduled, 1% truer thought, I can ask for 5 minutes when growth matters. Courage didn't roar. It spoke 1 sentence and breathed once on a doorframe. Feel the back of your neck. If there's tightness like a towel wrung too hard, unwrap it a quarter turn by tilting your head left and right slowly as your eyes trace the lines where ceiling meets wall. That orienting sweep tells your midbrain you are not boxed in. You are about to ask your body a question, somatic yes/no. It's a micro drill inside the map to calibrate instincts. Stand or sit tall. Pose a real choice to yourself in 12 words or less. On an inhale, imagine a tiny yes written on your sternum. On the exhale, ask your body, is yes aligned with my map? Observe the first micro-impulse, a softening, a slight lift, a warming, or a subtle pull back, a constriction. Now ask the same for no. This is not divination. It's data from the baseline animal you live inside. Pair it with the narrow tests so you aren't just following whims. You're listening to a signal while holding a standard. Story. In a kitchen with steam fogging the window, Lena's mother asked if she could host a family dinner, 20 people, short notice. Values, connection, craft, calm. She ran somatic yes/no. Yes felt like a hardening in her throat. No felt like an exhale in her belly. She still wanted connection. Map time, narrow. Connection today could be host 6, not 20, and bring dessert Sunday. 1% courage rep. Call and say the honest sentence kindly within 24 hours. She did. Her mother paused, then laughed and said, 6 will be lovely. Lena sealed the rep by pressing her palm to the counter and letting the coolness drain the leftover guilt heat from her face. Alignment didn't require heroics. It required a map, a tiny act, and a seal. Scan the room with lantern eyes, edges, light, 3 colors you can name, then narrow to the texture of whatever holds your weight. The focus sanctuary you built earlier now becomes a values sanctuary. Before you start a task, Add a 6-second check. Which verb am I honoring in this wave? Speak, ship, tend, learn, serve. Whisper it. As you work, distraction triage gets easier because you aren't just protecting attention, you're protecting meaning. Work vignette. Omar had a recurring 1 p.m. meeting that always expanded to 2:30 and stole his deep work slot. His values this quarter were craft and team health. Map, craft right arrow ship, team health right arrow clarify. He ran a 1% courage rep edge, asking to time box. Scale, fear 6, value 8. Inch, 1 sentence at the top of the meeting. Could we aim to end on time today? I'll keep us honest. He said it, set a visible timer, and at minute 28 asked for last points. They ended at 33. He didn't become controlling, he became consistent. Seal, he wrote craft clarify done on a sticky and stuck it under his keyboard. The little ritual told his nervous system, we live our map in the wild. Let your fingertips meet and create a tiny, pressurized warmth. That warmth is a seal you can carry. After any value-aligned inch, a clear no, a generous yes, a small ship. You touch finger to thumb and breathe for 6. The brain links the sensation to the identity. I am the awareness that lives by verbs, not vibes. Sometimes values collide. Kindness versus truth, rest versus service, growth versus stability. This is where you use the North Star compass rose, a quick add-on, 4 points, self, other, future, system. When torn, ask 4 short questions. Does this serve me now? Self, them now, other, us in 6 months, future. The process we're trying to build, system. Narrate your answers in a whisper, then choose the smallest action that hits at least 2 points. You won't always get all 4. 2 is enough to move without self-betrayal. Story in a fluorescent conference room. Priyanka had to give feedback to a beloved teammate who derailed meetings with tangents. Value, care and craft. Compass rose, self, dreading the talk, other, he's frustrated by not being heard, future, team cohesion at risk, system, meetings need edges. She chose an inch that hit other and system. Can we try a parking lot for tangents and I'll make sure to read yours first next time? He exhaled and said, please, rep sealed. Your reticular activating system is watching. When you start each day by writing 3 verbs from your map onto your calendar, it tags the world for opportunities to enact them. You'll notice a clean opening to say the true thing. Your eyes will snag on the task that matters to craft. Your hand will reach for a glass of water or sunlight because care isn't a mood, it's a verb. This is what identity level change looks like in neurons, a filter that prefers congruence. Feel the cool or warmth at the surface of your forearms. Track it for 2 breaths. Now pick a micro snag alive right now, a text to answer, a decision to make, a small request you want to deliver. Run the map and the rep together in 45 seconds. Name 3 values for today. Narrow one into a test. Convert to a verb, find the edge, scale it. Take the inch with a single sentence, keystroke or step. Seal the rep with touch and breath. Notice the hum in your chest, downshift. That hum is fuel. You've just reallocated from angst to action. A story from a late train. The carriage smelt of damp coats and metal. A man nearby argued on his phone. Tension crawled like static. Suki clutched a manuscript she'd rewritten 6 times. Value, craft and courage. Edge, emailing her editor with a decisive ask felt like a 6. Inch, I want to cut chapter 3 and fold its best paragraph into 5. She typed it with cold fingers, felt the phone's smooth glass against her skin, and pressed send as the tunnel lights stuttered by. Seal, fingertips pressed, 6-count exhale, 1 phrase, rep sealed. The train didn't quiet, Suki did. The world didn't validate her identity, her reps did. You will forget your map under heat and default to pleasing, postponing, or perfecting. That's why you install the compass bell, Set 3 alarms named with your verbs. When the bell chimes, you ask, in the last block, did I speak ship tend? If not, you do a 10-second inch right then and seal it. Guilt becomes unnecessary, calibration returns. Over weeks, those bells become internal. You'll feel a tug in your chest when you drift from your verbs. That tug is not shame, it's guidance. Touch your sternum lightly, feel the drum there, patient and unashamed. Whisper the identity turn that threads every part of this book. You are the awareness, not the pressure, not the pleasing reflex, not the old script that says belonging requires self-betrayal. You are the room. In this room, values aren't poster words. They are verbs you perform under fluorescent lights and on crowded trains, with garlic on your hands and a calendar that doesn't care about your soul. You care, you act, you seal. Close with a short ritual to etch this into muscle memory. Stand, if you can, find the nearest doorway. On the threshold, name one value and its verb. Step through and do a 1% courage rep that takes 10 seconds, send the note, ask the question, say the kind truth, pour the water, close the extra tab and open the one that matters. Then place your fingertips together for one breath and say, rep sealed. That's it. You just trained your nervous system to associate thresholds with integrity. As evening comes, light shifts on walls and the air cools a degree. Sit with your map for 2 minutes. Write tomorrow's 3 verbs at the top of a blank page, under each 1 inch. Fold the paper once and tuck it where you'll see it. Sleep will be kinder when your system trusts that the morning has coordinates. And when the morning comes noisy, you'll know what to protect and how. You'll aim your attention, speak the true sentence, ship the small unit, tend the vessel that carries you. That's stillness in chaos at its most adult. Calm married to meaning, breath married to verbs, identity married to action. You are the awareness that lives by a map you drew with your own hand. The weather can swirl. You will mark, breathe, name, and aim. And then you will do the smallest honest thing that proves who you say you are, and you will seal it so your bones remember. Again tomorrow. Again kindly. Uncertainty is heavy because your brain treats missing information like a threat. The amygdala hates blank spaces. It fills them with worst-case sketches to keep you safe. Then your reticular activating system highlights every shadow to prove the sketch true. You don't need the world to be certain to move. You need a way to navigate fog without lighting yourself on fire. This part gives you 2 frameworks, the fog map and the 2-track plan. The fog map separates the unknown into 3 workable buckets, so your nervous system stops filing everything under danger. The 2-track plan turns motion into a pair of parallel rails, one you control today, one you watch and adjust, so you can step forward without pretending you know everything. When you run these together, anxiety loses its favorite weapon, vagueness. Start in the body so the map lands in muscle, not only in the head. Feel the air pass your front teeth as you exhale, a faint warmth softening the mouth. Notice your cheeks from the inside, cool at the edges, a little warmer where the breath rises. Place one palm on your lower belly. Inhale gently until the palm lifts. Sip a little more air so your ribs widen. Exhale longer than the inhale and let your shoulders slide down their rails. Twice. The system registers safety. Safety buys you nuance. Nuance is how you navigate fog. The fog map is simple on purpose. You divide the unknown into 3 verbs, known, knowable, and unknowable. Known is what you actually have, dates, constraints, resources, commitments. Knowable is what can be learned quickly with a question, a test, or a small pass. Unknowable is everything that won't reveal itself until time passes or other people decide. Your nervous system tends to collapse knowable into unknowable and punish you as if you were helpless. The map reverses that collapse. You write 3 short lines and force the world to tell you where you can act. A story in a bright office where the glass walls reflect a jittery you. Myra is up for an internal transfer. Her manager is vague. We'll see next quarter. Myra's stomach pinches, sleep phrase, old habit, refresh email, rehearse arguments, catastrophize. She tries the fog map. Known, her current role's deliverables, the transfer review cycle in 6 weeks, the skills named in the job spec. Knowable, who can explain the evaluation rubric, which gaps are real, what small project resembles the new role. Unknowable, headcount decisions, budget, who else applies. Her breath lengthens as the map appears. She writes 2 names to ask about the rubric, drafts a 1-sentence proposal for a mini project she can ship in 2 weeks, and schedules a 15-minute chat with her manager to ask, if I deliver X and Y by date Z, would that materially strengthen my case? The future is still foggy, but there is ground under her feet, and ground changes posture. Pause and tag your own sensations to keep this from becoming a list in the air. The skin at the back of your neck, does it sit cool where it meets the collar, or is there heat pooled there from long attention? Roll your head slowly left to right as your eyes trace the line where wall meets ceiling, then let your gaze widen to lantern for 2 breaths. As it widens, whisper your 3 verbs: known, knowable, unknowable. Then choose the smallest question you can ask today that would move 1 item from knowable to known. Ask it in 1 sentence. If your chest tightens, that's the amygdala predicting social risk. Exhale long, and remember your prefrontal cortex handles small with elegance. Small is how you move in fog. Now fit the 2-track plan beside the map. In fog, people either freeze or sprint randomly. The plan prevents both. Track A is the control track, actions you will take on a predictable cadence regardless of external outcomes. Track B is the watch track, signals you will watch at pre-decided checkpoints that trigger adjustments. You write them as 2 short promises. Every weekday at 9 a.m., I will, and on Fridays at 4 p.m., I'll check. If X, I do Y. If not, I continue. This anchors motion while honoring reality. It also calms the RAS by giving it pattern and purpose. A scene with the smell of rain on hot pavement, sidewalk glossy with evening light. Theo is launching a side project and feels nauseated by uncertainty. Will anyone care how to price, whether to announce? He drafts a 2-track plan. Control, ship 1 tiny improvement daily, post 1 useful snippet twice a week, ask 1 person for feedback every Tuesday. Watch, on Fridays, check signups, replies, and 1 proxy metric, minutes on page. If signups average under 20 for 2 weeks, he will test a new landing line. If replies mention confusion about pricing, he will test anchor copy. The plan doesn't guarantee success. It guarantees that his days are not a referendum on uncontrollable metrics. His chest doesn't expand with certainty. It expands with dignity. Sense your hands now. Are your palms slightly cool, your fingertips warmer from typing or holding? Press the pads of your thumbs to the first joints of your index fingers until you feel the spring. That light pressure can be your plan cue. Each time you feel it, whisper, control, watch, and pick 1 action and 1 signal. The body learns through repetition under emotion. Let your hands be your teacher. Uncertainty has a sibling, ambiguity in relationships. The brain treats it as XL risk. A partner grows quiet. A manager goes terse. Your body reads thin data as a thick story. Use the fog map to humble the story. Known, 4 short answers you actually have. They were brief on Slack today. We rescheduled twice. Last feedback was positive. I slept badly. Knowable, ask for a read on how the project is tracking. Propose a check-in. Name your perception without accusation. Unknowable, their internal state, politics you don't see. then build a two-track plan. Control, send a clear agenda before the next one. Log one appreciable outcome daily. Watch, on Friday, review the last 3 exchanges. If tone is consistently clipped and requests vague, schedule a clarifying conversation with 1 sentence ready. I'm noticing X and want us to move smoothly. What would make that easier? You aren't mind reading, you're map reading. An anecdote in a kitchen lit by a single cone of warm light. Sonia and Eli wanted to try for a child. The fog was vast, timelines, bodies, luck. Anxiety turned their evenings into research spirals that left them brittle. They sat at the table, palms on cool wood, and drew 3 columns. Known, basic health, finances, a doctor's initial note. Knowable, an appointment with a specialist, 1 test, a conversation with a couple who had walked this path. Unknowable, time, outcomes, 2-track plan. Control, walk together 3 evenings a week for 20 minutes, learn 1 new meal that nourishes both of them, schedule 1 appointment. Watch, at the end of each month, check how they were treating each other, 1 question each, no editing. If they heard sharpness climbing, they scheduled a play night with no screens. Fog remained. Their room grew gentle. That changed everything that could change. Feel the temperature at your ankles now, cooler than your thighs, a small ring where air moves differently. That is your weather report. Anchor to it and add a micro drill, the 1-tile strategy. In overwhelming ambiguity, you place 1 tile that makes the next tile easier. Ask, what is the smallest tile I can lay in the next 10 minutes that reduces unknowns or increases capacity? In job search fog, 1 tile is a 2-sentence outreach to someone in the role. In health fog, 1 tile is listing 3 questions for your next appointment. In creative fog, 1 tile is writing the ending paragraph first to discover the piece's aim. Tiles don't build the whole floor in an hour. They stop you slipping. Your biology needs rhythm in fog. Add the uncertainty interval, a 20-20-20 pattern you run for 90 minutes, 20 minutes of control work, a 90-second reset, 4-4-6 breath, shoulders down, a 20-minute watch pass where you scan only your predetermined signals, and 20 to lay a tile. The interval teaches your RAS that unknowns don't cancel action, they shape it. Over days, it becomes a groove that your attention falls into without drama. A work story in fluorescent light and stale coffee smell. Karim led a team through a client's shifting scope. Every day brought new asks and old promises. He announced a team version of the 2-track plan. Every morning, we will ship 1 thing inside our control, and every afternoon we will watch the 3 signals and adjust once. He wrote the signals on the whiteboard, response time, defect count, stakeholder tone, and set a 5-minute adjust or continue slot at 4:25. The ritual gave the team a shared pulse. People stopped arguing with the weather and started moving furniture inside the room. Their bodies softened. Their decisions sharpened. Your inner critic will object. What if the unknowable slams a door? It will. The fog map doesn't protect you from reality. It protects you from wasted suffering. When a door slams, your nervous system will try to sprint in every direction at once. That's when you use the 60-second ground truth. Stand if you can. Put your palm flat against the nearest stable surface, wall, table, door. Feel its temperature and unyielding support. Say out loud, what is true right now? Speak 3 facts only, then ask, what's the smallest tile that respects those facts? Do it. Do not debate your worth. Worth is not on the table. The table is the table under your hand. A small story from a late afternoon train pulling into a station, brakes squealing. May applied for a grant. The email came. No, her throat tightened. The old movie started. You're not a real researcher. She put her hand on the cool window. Ground truth. The grant is a no. My project exists. 3 colleagues asked for my draft. Tile, send the draft to those three with a one-line ask for critique. 2-track plan, control, edit 1 paragraph daily, watch, if 2 of 3 point at clarity, cut the jargon. The ache stayed. The fog thinned enough to walk. Scan the room with lantern eyes and notice 3 straight lines and 1 curve. Narrow to spotlight on a single small object near you, pen, mug, edge of paper, and feel its weight or texture for 3 breaths. That sensory fidelity is a way of saying to your animal self, we are here, not in the storyboard of doom. From here, run a live mini-map. Name 1 situation that scares you because you can't see all the way through. Speak 1 line into each column, known, knowable, unknowable. Then write 1 control act and 1 watch signal. If your throat tightens, exhale longer. Long exhales bring the break online. The break brings the map into your hands. Sometimes uncertainty is time-shaped. Waiting for results, interviews, callbacks. Waiting is a gym for your nervous system's patience. You train it with the waiting window. Decide a window during which you will not poke the bruise. No refreshing, no just checking. You place a sticky note that reads, window, ends Friday 4 p.m. During the window, you run the 2-track plan for your life. Control, feed your craft, body, relationships. Watch, notice signs of obsession, and run a rapid reset cascade when you catch yourself spiraling. Friday at 4, you allow 1 check and 1 action if needed. Boundaries like this are not superstition. They are sanity architecture. A home vignette to ground the heart. Neymar's father awaited a biopsy result. The house vibrated with uncertainty, every sound a possible phone call. Neymar wanted to fix what could not be fixed. She drew a fog map on the back of an envelope. Known, date of the appointment, her father's current energy, the doctor's call window. Knowable, questions to ask when the call arrives, who can sit with him, who can cook. Unknowable, the result, the path, 2-track plan. Control, every morning at 9, she texts her father a photo from her walk. Every afternoon, she preps a simple soup. Every evening, she calls her aunt for laughter. Watch, at 5, she asks herself, am I checking the phone every 2 minutes? If yes, she places it in another room for 15 and does a 90-second weather rule with 1 hand on her chest. The phone still rang when it rang, but between the rings there was life, not purgatory. Check the taste in your mouth, a hint of metal, the ghost of coffee, plain and clean. Let that taste cue an inner sentence. I can move 1 tile inside fog. Whisper it, then draw 1 breath that's longer on the exit than the entrance and feel your ribcage soften. Your identity shifts because of sentences like this repeated when it's hardest. You are not the person who only moves in perfect visibility. You are the awareness that installs rails in mist. Add a friction remover for this work. A question template you can copy into any email or conversation to turn knowable into known. It goes, to decide well, I'm mapping known, knowable, unknowable. Here's what I have, here's what I can get quickly, and here's what I know will unfold later. Could you help me clarify A and B by X dates so I can do Y? The tone is calm, not demanding. People respond to clarity with clarity. If they don't, your watch track records that signal and you adjust. Protect time, set boundaries, pick a different path. Fog maps your allies. A story at work with soft carpet and the low hum of HVAC. Rosa ran operations. A vendor missed a deadline and answered with mush. Rosa felt the heat rise. She pulled up the template. Known, parts delayed by 3 days, our launch date fixed. Knowable, fastest ship option, true current location, real confidence interval. Unknowable, customs delays. 2-track plan. Control, resequence tasks to keep the team moving, pre-write customer communication. Watch if by noon tomorrow there's no precise scan location, switch vendors. She sent the note, the vendor surfaced specifics. She flipped the switch anyway because the watch trigger fired. Launch slipped one day, not 1 month. Co-workers said she was unflappable. She was mapped. You'll feel the tug to over-control when you taste a little certainty. That's when you use the 80% rule. Make a move when you have 80% of what you need. Treat the last 20 as the watch track's job. Your amygdala will protest that 20% unknown equals danger. Your cortex knows 20% unknown equals reality. Pair the 80% rule with a seal. After you act, press thumb to finger and whisper, "Rep sealed." This trains the part of you that finishes. Sense the light in the room now, cool blue or warm amber, and let your eyes soften until the edges blur. Return to spotlight on one word on this page. Breath in for 4, hold for 2, out for 6. The weather inside your chest eases, not because the world changed, but because you changed how you hold the world. A final small story as we close this part. Jonah wanted to move to a new city. The idea thrilled and terrified him. Fog everywhere, housing, friends, work. He wrote his map on packing paper. Known, savings, remote job, 3 cities with pull, his tendency to isolate under stress. Knowable, 1 friend of a friend in each city, average rent, 3 neighborhoods that felt alive to his senses. Unknowable, luck, chemistry, who he'd be there, 2-track plan. Control, schedule 1 week-long scout trip, walk for 2 hours in each city at morning and dusk to feel the place in his body, write 3 sentences nightly on how his nervous system responded. Watch, if he felt a consistent softening in City B and his body budget improved there, sleep, appetite, shoulders, he'd commit. The scout weeks came. In City B, a cafe smelled like cardamom and warm bread. His shoulders dropped 2 centimeters for no reason he could name. He moved. It wasn't perfect. It was aligned. Fog remained. He owned a compass. Let your hand rest over your sternum. Feel the steady drum. Press lightly so warmth passes from palm to skin. Whisper the identity turn that has threaded every chapter. You are the awareness, not the fog. You are the room that can hold mist without mistaking it for yourself. You separate known, knowable, and unknowable. You run control and watch. You lay 1 tile, you seal the rep. This is not bravado. It is a way of moving that leaves dignity in its wake. Tonight, draw 3 columns on a scrap of paper, napkin, or notes app. Fill them with 1 situation that makes your stomach hum with unknowns. Write 1 control act for tomorrow morning and 1 watch signal for Friday. Then place the paper where your hand will touch it as you start the day. When your hand touches it, breathe out longer than you breathe in. Begin. If the fog presses close, don't fight the air, be the room. Rails appear under your feet when you lay them. You are the awareness that can walk while not knowing. The weather will swirl. You will not wait for blue sky to belong to your life. There's a mistake ambitious people make for years. You try to outthink a body that's out of budget. You stack frameworks, scripts, and reframes on a nervous system running on fumes. Then you wonder why your clarity frays by 3 p.m., why tiny frictions feel like cliffs, why your best sentences show up after midnight and abandon you at 9. This part is about power supply. You'll learn the body budget blueprint, a practical way to keep your neurobiology resourced so calm is available on demand. And the rhythm stack, a 3-anchor routine that rides your natural cycles instead of fighting them. When you give your brain oxygen, light, minerals, and closure at the right times, your tools from earlier don't just work. They become reflexes. Begin where power begins, sensation. Touch your fingers to the sides of your neck just below the jawline and feel for the faint pulse. Let your breath lengthen on the exhale until the thud softens by a half beat. Notice the temperature across your cheeks, maybe cooler near the temples, warmer at the center. Sense the weight of your body in the chair, the way gravity pours you downward, and the seat quietly pushes back. This is not fluff. Your prefrontal cortex, the part that plans and chooses, needs a certain baseline of fuel and signal. When you feel the room, you're already shifting the budget. The body budget blueprint has 4 dials you can adjust in minutes: light, water, salt, movement, and closure. Light sets your circadian clock and cortisol curve. Water and a pinch of salt restore electrical stability for nerve signaling. Movement moves adrenaline and glucose. Closure tells the limbic system the loop ended so it can stand down. You don't need a perfect day to tune these. You need moments you can repeat. A scene on a grey Tuesday. Devon wakes foggy, opens the laptop in bed, and scrolls himself anxious before breakfast. By 11, his focus is gelatin. By 2, he's a coffee and snack marionette. At 10 p.m., wide awake, he promises to be different tomorrow. He tries the blueprint instead of vows. Light. Within 10 minutes of waking, he steps outside, lets morning brightness hit his eyes for 3 minutes. No sunglasses, horizon gaze. Water, salt. He drinks a glass of water with a tiny pinch of salt and squeezes half a lemon, then eats something with protein. Movement. He walks the block before checking messages, letting his arms swing and his eyes trace the far edges of rooftops. Closure. Before lunch, he writes 1 line, next useful action is, and closes his first 15-3-1 focus wave with a pen placed across the page. Day 1 isn't cinematic. Day 5, his 2 p.m. feels like his old 10 a.m. Taste the air as it crosses your teeth. If you can, stand and take 10 slow steps, heel to toe, noticing the texture under your feet, hard wood, soft rug, cool tile. As your eyes land on something far away, your neck muscles lengthen and send a whisper up the vagus nerve. Safe enough. Cortisol, the morning get-going hormone, rises and falls in a curve that wants light early and dimness late. When you feed the curve correctly, your evening isn't a wrestling match with a brain that thinks it's noon. Fold in the rhythm stack. 3 daily anchors that harmonize with your ultradian rhythms, those 90-120-minute cycles of energy and focus. The anchors are AM light and breath, midday move and close, and PM shutdown sequence. AM light and breath is 3 to 7 minutes outside and 2 rounds of 4-4-6 to steady the system after sleep. Midday move and close is a 2-minute brisk walk or 30 slow squats followed by a literal closure, 1 sentence, 1 dot, 1 hand on the desk whispering, "Wave done." PM shutdown sequence is a 15-minute routine that lands your nervous system on a runway rather than a cliff. Dim lights, screens to warm color, quick list of tomorrow's 3 verbs from your North Star map, 1 gratitude in shadow line, I'm grateful for X that was annoying because it showed me Y, and a 4-7-8 breath in bed. The stack is not aesthetic, it's electricity management. A story under fluorescent lights that smell faintly of toner. Renata runs operations. By afternoon, her team senses her fuse shrinking. She implements the stack without fanfare. 8:10 a.m., AM light and breath in the parking lot, eyes on the horizon over the loading bay. 12:40, midday move and close, 2 quiet laps around the building, then a pen across the notebook page to close the wave, and a hand on the doorframe with 1 6-count exhale before re-entering the room. 9:45 p.m., PM shutdown, lamplight only, tomorrow's verbs written on a sticky, 1 I'm grateful for the delay because it forced prioritization, then phone in another room. 2 weeks later, her team doesn't call her calm, they call her consistent. The storm around her didn't dim. She stopped sparking against it. Check your mouth. Is your tongue glued to the roof like it's bracing? Let it drop. That releases a tiny chain of muscles down the throat and chest that freeze breath, and with it, the prefrontal cortex. The blueprint works because your nervous system runs on chemistry and electricity. Sodium and water help electrical signals propagate cleanly. Morning brightness tells your suprachiasmatic nucleus, "We're awake." Movement clears stress chemicals your body manufactured for threats that aren't in the room. Closure gives your hippocampus permission to store the memory as complete. You don't need a dissertation in physiology. You need to feel this and repeat it. Let's run a micro drill to make the dials yours. I call it the 3x30 budget top-up. 3 times today, for 30 seconds, you touch one dial. Morning, step outside, let your eyes soften to lantern as you scan the horizon, left to right, slow. Midday, drink water with a pinch of salt and roll your shoulders forward and back 5 times, breathing out longer than you breathe in. Evening, write 3 verbs for tomorrow and place the paper where your hand will touch it, then dim one light. That's 90 seconds total. You're not aiming for perfection. You're aiming for a baseline that doesn't abandon you. A home vignette drenched in late afternoon blue light. Amal works from a tiny kitchen table. Her partner cooks. Knives clack. A pot steams the window. Amal's brain feels like a sponge that's soaked but not saturated. She wants to scroll, to empty herself into a glow. Instead, she runs midday move and close at 6 p.m. because midday is whenever your second wind needs a shepherd. She walks the stairwell 2 flights down and up, fingers grazing the cool rail to anchor the climb, eyes on the mismatched paint where the wall was patched. Pulse up, breath long. She returns, writes 1 line. Next useful action is send 2 lines to Tanya, places a pen across the page and says, "Wave done." The evening loosens. She can taste the garlic in the air again. Feel the coolness at your wrists. That's a good indicator of body budget. If wrists feel cold and your jaw tight, fuel and movement probably fell. A 2-minute fix can change the next 90 minutes. Eat something with protein, swing your arms while you walk to a window and soften your eyes until you can feel space. Your reticular activating system listens to movement more than pep talks. Show it a horizon, it will give you options. There's a trap to avoid, thinking you must overhaul your life to adjust these dials. The body budget blueprint respects real constraints, night shifts, caregiving, shared rooms. That's why the PM shutdown sequence is modular. If you can't remove screens, shift their color and brightness and move them out of your line of sight for the last 10 minutes before bed. If you can't dim the room, put a cap on your head or lower your gaze so less light hits your eyes. If you can't manage a walk, do 20 slow calf raises, feeling your heels kiss the floor. The body doesn't need perfect, it needs cues. A field story with travel fatigue as the antagonist. Jonah lands from a late flight, wired and acid-tongued. Hotel air smells like recirculated everything. Past Jonah would stare at a blue rectangle until 1 a.m. and wake like a slammed door. Now he runs the stack in miniature. He turns off overheads and turns on a bedside lamp. He writes tomorrow's 3 verbs, speak, ship, tend, on hotel stationery. He stands by the window and looks at the faint city lights, letting his eyes focus far, then near, then far again to cue the orienting reflex. He drinks a glass of water with a pinch of salt scavenged from a room service packet. He does 1478. Sleep arrives like a friend, not a hostage taker. Check your forearms. Are there goosebumps? A signal you might be underfueled. The brain consumes a dramatic amount of energy relative to its size. When you ask it to orchestrate boundaries, frames, and focus on fumes, it bills you in irritability and catastrophizing. A 10-minute meal with protein and color, a glass of water, and a 2-minute move often do more for your dignity than an hour of self-critique. The blueprint is not indulgent, it's maintenance. Let's add a second micro-drill, the close your breath. At the end of any wave, any meeting, any conversation that matters, you place one hand flat on a surface, desk, wall, table, and exhale for 8 counts while you whisper, "Closed." That single word turns off background loops. It's a tiny handshake with your limbic system. When you sleep later, your brain won't rattle the door wondering if you locked it. A work anecdote. Mira runs customer support. The day's last call ends rough. Her chest vibrates with residual adrenaline. She wants to shove it down with snacks and news. Instead, she stands, presses both palms into the counter in the break room, and gives herself one close your breath. Then she scribbles, "Tomorrow, debrief with Tony, update macro 14. She turns off the overheads near her desk and leaves a small lamp on a timer so when she walks in tomorrow, the light is warm. The ritual costs 60 seconds. It pays in a morning that doesn't start with clench. The science bridge, short and actionable. The morning light cue advances the central clock in your hypothalamus, which sets a cascade of hormones across the day and improves melatonin timing at night. Movement metabolizes stress hormones and returns blood to the prefrontal cortex, making nuance possible. A pinch of salt with water can perk up a flagging body budget by helping water actually enter cells, especially after sweating, coffee, or stress. Closure reduces prediction error in the brain. You're telling the system there's no need to keep scanning a closed loop. You don't have to remember the terms. Remember the feeling after you do them. That's your proof. Taste the hint of your last drink on your tongue. Let that be a cue for the rhythm stack tonight. If you can, plan your PM shutdown sequence now. It might be this. At 9:30, dim one light. At 9:35, write tomorrow's verbs and one gratitude in shadow. At 9:40, do 1478. At 9:42, place your phone in another room or face down across the room. At 9:44, read 3 pages of something on paper. If you're up later, the times slide, the sequence remains. When you inevitably break it, you'll use the rapid reset cascade from the last part. Recognize, release, redirect, slid late, closing now, one breath, one list, lights down. Story at home with soft lamplight and the smell of citrus cleaner. Keisha's 6-year-old refuses bedtime like it's a negotiation with pirates. The house feels pitched. Keisha wants to scroll herself numb. Instead, she uses the child's routine as her own anchor. While reading, she slows her own exhale. After lights out, she writes her 3 verbs on a sticky on the fridge. She fills a glass of water and places it near the bed. She turns the lamp shade so light hits the wall, not her eyes. 10 minutes later, she feels her body admit the day is over. She doesn't need to win bedtime to land her own plane. Move your jaw side to side until it clicks less. That movement loosens a lot more than bone. Jaw tension is a silent tax on cognition and mood. Part of your PM shutdown can be jaw release, gentle circles, tongue pressed lightly to the roof on the inhale, released on the exhale. If you're skeptical, test it. Read one email with clenched jaw, read the same with a soft jaw and longer exhale. Your language softens, your options widen. That's budget in action. There's a deeper identity turn hiding in this part. You think of yourself as mind forward, but you are a living system, and the system's state writes the script your mind recites. When you run the blueprint and the stack, you're not pampering yourself. You're making it possible to be who you say you are when it counts. You stop outsourcing your behavior to caffeine spikes and glucose dips. You become someone whose presence is dependable because their power supply is. Make it yours now. Choose one dial and one anchor you will install today. Maybe it's AM light and breath for 3 minutes in whatever weather exists. Maybe it's midday move and close between 2 meetings. Maybe it's the smallest PM shutdown, just tomorrow's 3 verbs and the phone across the room. Pair it with a seal, thumb to finger, 6-count exhale, and whisper, rep sealed. Your RAS loves rituals it can recognize and repeat. Final story, fluorescent conference room again, but different light inside the person. Lewis was known for brilliance and 5 p.m. craters. He oscillated between heroics and heat. He tried the blueprint for a month without telling anyone. Light without fail. Water with salt mid-morning. 2-minute hallway walks at 50 past the hour. Close your breath at the end of everything that had a start. A PM shutdown his partner could see and honor. By week 2, the 5 p.m. crater became a 5 p.m. dip he could ride. By week 4, his voice in late meetings had patience built in. People said he seemed centered. He wasn't born centered, he was budgeted. Feel the room one more time. The air at your nostrils cooler in, warmer out. The chair catching you in the exact places you don't usually notice. The world will still throw weather at your glass. You will have the power to choose which tools to lift because your system can afford them. That is a different kind of freedom than inspiration. It is adult, actionable, and kind. Say the identity line we keep returning to, but let it land in your body. You are the awareness, not the fatigue, not the craving, not the midnight vow. You are the room. In this room, you tune light, water, movement, and closure. In this room, you stack rhythms like stones across a stream and cross without rushing. You can be still in chaos when your circuits are fed. Feed them. Tonight, draw a tiny box on a sticky note and write the 4 dials: light, water, salt, move, close. Check one box while the day still has breath in it. In the morning, check another. Budget compounds. Calm arrives not as a mood, but as capacity you can feel in your hands. You've been building personal tools, breath, focus waves, maps, boundaries. Now we wire them into a system that survives real life. Chaos isn't a one-off, it's seasonal. Projects crest and crash. Relationships warm and cool. Bodies change their weather. This part is about resilience architecture, creating structures that quietly keep you pointed at what matters when motivation flickers. You'll learn 2 frameworks, the force field sculpt and the fractal review. The first redesigns your environment so your best behaviors are the path of least resistance. The second compresses reflection into tiny, repeatable checkpoints that course-correct without drama. Together, they make calm default and recovery automatic. You won't rely on heroic willpower, you'll rely on a house that helps. Start by feeling the room you're in, because rooms are the point. Let your eyes soften until you can sense the edges, the doorframe, a shadow thrown by a lamp, the way light pools on a surface. Notice the weight where the chair holds you, exact points of contact along your thighs. Feel the air at your nostrils, cool in, warmer out. Your nervous system assigns meaning to spaces. If the desk screams multitask and the kitchen whispers hurry, your body obeys those cues faster than pep talks. We'll re-script the whispers. The force field sculpt is simple. Reduce friction on one behavior you want. Increase friction on one behavior you don't. Add a cue that reminds your nervous system who you are. 3 moves, 1 room at a time. Friction is physics, not morality. If the healthy thing is 2 steps closer and the unhelpful thing is 2 steps farther with 1 extra action in between, your brain chooses better on autopilot. Willpower turns noble when you stop asking it to fight architecture. A work story under LED lights and the low whir of an air conditioner. Timo wanted to start his mornings with a 15-3-1 focus wave, but Slack kept colonizing his eyes. He sculpted the force field instead of vowing. He placed a physical timer and notebook in the center of his desk each evening, so they were the first things his hands touched at 9. He dragged Slack off the dock so opening it required a search, not a click, and set it to open in a small window rather than full screen. He taped a tiny dot on his monitor bezel, his still point cue to trigger 1446 as his hand reached for the timer. Day 1 he slid. Day 2 he started the wave. Day 7 the room did half the job before he felt heroic. Timo didn't become disciplined. He became designed. Scan your jaw, let the molars part and the tongue rest heavy. Feel your palms and notice whether the skin at the base of the thumb is cooler than the fingers. That sensory fidelity is your anchor as you sculpt. Pick one space that hosts your derailments: desk, couch, bed, car. Reduce friction on one verb from your North Star map. If it's ship, lay the document open and place the pen across the page like a bridge so your hand meets it first. Increase friction on one pull you don't want. If it's doom scroll, banish the app from your home screen and put the phone charger across the room so the last act of night is a small walk. Add a cue that tells your body a story. A lamp angled warm, a sticky with "this is the inch," a ring you rotate once as you begin. Architecture becomes instruction. Home vignette. A small kitchen at 7:11 a.m., steam fogging the window. Zara wanted to prepare real breakfast 3 days a week to steady her body budget, but cereal was a 2-second fix and eggs felt like a negotiation. She sculpted. Pan on stovetop at night, oil and spatula left out, eggs front row in the fridge. Cereal moved to a high cabinet behind the blender, so it cost a small reach and a soft curse. On the counter, a card read 10 now in her own hand, and every time she touched it, she pressed thumb to finger for a 6-count exhale. She wasn't proving worth by cooking. She was lowering the activation energy of care. After a week, the pan smelled faintly of butter at 7:15, and she noticed her 10 a.m. brain held shape. Your reticular activating system loves patterns. When spaces repeat a story, your filter tags that story as truth. That's why one messy corner can make your shoulders climb before a thought forms. You don't need magazine minimalism. You need affordances, objects placed to afford the action you want, obstacles placed to nudge you from the action you don't. This is not aesthetic. It is nervous system ergonomics. Now the second framework, the fractal review. Reflection bloats when it's rare, then you avoid it because it feels like an audit from a hostile auditor. The fractal review shrinks it into 3 nested check-ins, micro, mini, and macro, that rhyme so your brain recognizes the pattern and relaxes. Micro is 60 seconds between waves. Mini is 5 minutes at day's end. Macro is 15 at week's end. Each asks the same 3 questions with different zoom. What did I honor? Where did I drift? What's the next inch? Feel the temperature at your wrists again, cooler than your forearms. Let that coolness cue the micro review. You end a focus wave, you place your hand flat on the desk, you exhale for 8 and whisper, closed. Then you answer in your head the smallest trio. Honored, drifted, inch. Honored might be ship. Drifted might be triaged urges poorly at minute 11. Inch might be start the next wave with Slack closed. 10 seconds, maybe 12. The point is not poetic insight. It's course correction while the track is still warm. A story at a dim bus stop in evening rain. Jorge's days blurred into effort without edges. He adopted the mini. He stood at the kitchen counter before dinner, placed both palms on the cool marble, and ran the trio aloud. Honored, I kept a boundary with the 5 p.m. ask. Drifted, I let comparison chew an hour. Next inch, parking lot the scroll at lunch and take 1 lap outside. He wrote 1 line in a pocket notebook and drew a dot to seal. His partner overheard and began to chime in with their own three. The house's weather shifted from static to many small endings. Sleep crept in earlier. Macro on Friday is the same song with a wider lens. You sit by a window if you can and give your eyes a horizon so the amygdala stops guarding the door. You write 3 short sentences: honored, drifted, inch. Add one more: keep. Keep is the habit that paid rent this week. Naming it tells your RAS to preserve it. 15 minutes timer on, no flourish. If guilt barges in dressed as productivity, you mark it, breathe 446, and return to the inch. Progress is a mosaic built from small tiles. Reviews help you place them without staring at the entire wall. A work scene under fluorescent hum and the smell of brewed office coffee gone stale. Mara led a team through a messy quarter. Friday macros had become postmortems that spiraled down. She switched to fractal language. Honored, we closed loops daily. Drifted, we tried to over-control unknowns and paid in meetings. Next inch, 2-track plan visible on the whiteboard by Tuesday. Keep 15:31 before noon. The team breathed. The review stopped being a scolding and became a compass. You could feel shoulders drop. Check the back of your neck. Sweep your gaze slowly across the room until those tight bands soften a hair. Then practice your own micro right now. Honored in the last hour, name one verb you actually lived. Drifted, 1 inch you lost to friction or fog. Next inch, one action you can take in 60 seconds after you finish this paragraph. Maybe it's water with a pinch of salt. Maybe it's moving your phone. Maybe it's writing. Next useful action is, and placing a pen across the page like a bridge. Seal it with thumb to finger and a long exhale. Your biology learns faster when you end with a cue. Force field and fractal are cousins. One shapes the stage, the other shapes the script. Together they create identity evidence. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be the kind of person who," and you start acting like that person with regularity, so your ledger has receipts. The receipts change the voice in your head faster than pep talks ever could. There's a deeper layer: social force fields. People nudge your nervous system like furniture does. You're not a victim, you're porous. The sculpt here is gentle. You don't purge friends, you label roles. Who is an accelerator? Someone whose presence tilts you toward your verbs. Who is a decelerator? Someone whose default tugs you toward your old loops. You don't moralize, you design exposure. You schedule accelerators near decisions and ship moments. You schedule decelerators when your body budget is full and your boundaries are warm and clear. You add a cue to conversations that matter, a glass of water in your hand to slow your mouth, a phrase you rehearse: "Give me 10 seconds to think." You practice the repair loop when the room phrase so rooms can heal instead of harden. Anecdote at a birthday dinner: long table, flicker of tea lights, plates clinking. Rowan loved his friends and loathed how the group defaulted to cynicism by course 2. He started arriving 5 minutes early to place himself at the end of the table where he could anchor conversations, brought one question he cared about, and took 1/92nd weather pause in the bathroom if the waves rose. He didn't police the group. He sculpted his position. The night's weather didn't change completely. His climate did. He left lighter. Feel the fabric on your shoulders. Rough or smooth? Does it scratch or slide? That texture is the kind of detail your RAS uses to decide if the present is livable. When you design rooms and rituals, you're telling your animal that the present can be a good place to do work worth doing. The animal calms, the human chooses. Let's integrate both frameworks in a day you can actually live. Morning. The room lifts you into your AM light and breath because your shoes sit by the door and your notebook is on the table with a pen asleep across its spine. Micro review after the first wave. honored, drifted inch. Midday, the kitchen offers eggs, not because you became a saint, but because they're in your way, and the cereal plays hide-and-seek on a high shelf. Afternoon, a decelerating meeting is buffered by a 2-minute walk and a glass of water you planned as part of the room. Evening, macro review with lamplight, not overhead glare, so your shoulders don't ride your ears. You write, keep, and feel your chest warm at the word. You dim one light, put your phone across the room, and tell your nervous system, closed. This is not a pointillist self-help painting, it is carpentry. A story at work from someone you recognize by now. Serena, the junior designer who once spiraled over a font, is lead on a launch. The week jitters, she sculpts. Her desk shows only today's mock-up and a timer. Slack hides. Her parking lot sits open so useful distractions have a pen to land on. Micro reviews keep her honest. Honored craft, drifted into polish. Inch is to ship the imperfect to dev at 3. Friday macro names keep. 2-floor breath before feedback, and she circles it. On launch day, a bug pops. She runs a rapid reset cascade, then the repair loop with the dev who caught it. The mood in the room is tense, but her voice is. People call her steady. She smiles because she knows the truth. Her room did half the job. Your biology likes seasons. Build seasonal macros. Every 3 months, run a 15-minute fractal at bigger scale. What value did you honor most? Where did you drift as a pattern? What is one environmental sculpt you'll install this season? What is one social sculpt you'll experiment with? What will you keep even if your calendar riots? Name one ritual to retire with gratitude. Seasons give you permission to update without calling it failure. You are not inconsistent, you are responsive. Check the taste in your mouth. Coffee, ghost, mint, clean water. Let that taste cue a tiny inventory, light, water, salt, movement, closure. Twist one dial by one notch now. Stand and look at something far, drink 2 sips. Roll your shoulders, write one next useful action line. Then look around and move one object so your future behavior is easier and one object so an old loop costs you a step. You just did a sculpt. End with a 12-word macro to whisper tonight. Honored, drifted, inch, keep. You just did a review. The compounding effect is not loud. It is stubborn and kind. Your inner critic may sneer that systems are crutches. Good, let it. Crutches are how you walk on a sprained ankle until the tissue heals. Systems are how you live values in a culture that profits off your scattered attention. You will still have messy days. The difference is that your messy days will include rails. Rails keep trains from tipping even when the wind tries. A final scene under late sun angling through blinds, dust motes floating like small planets. Maya, the presenter from the fluorescent room in part 1, sits at her kitchen table. A plant with glossy leaves leans toward light. On the table, timer, notebook, glass of water leaving a ring, her phone face down across the room, a sticky note that reads speak, ship, tend. She sets 15 minutes, breathes once, and begins. At minute 9, her mind offers escape. She triages the urge, writes the thought in the parking lot, and continues. Timer chimes. She places a pen across the page and whispers, closed. Micro review, honored ship drifted into tabs once, inches to keep slack hidden for one more wave. Friday will come, she'll write keep, and it will likely be force field first. Month's end will come, she'll adjust one thing. Year's end will come, she won't tally achievements like trophies. She'll remember the feel of warm ceramic under her palms, the softened jaw, the lamp's glow, and she'll know this truth in her bones. Stillness became structure, and structure carried her through whether she used to fear. You are the awareness that builds rooms where the right thing is easy and the wrong thing is work. You are the one who ends scenes with breath and begins again with inch-sized courage. You are not at the mercy of moods, calendars, or feeds. You are a sculptor and a reviewer. You shape the field, you check the course, you walk. Notice the air at your nostrils again, cool in, warm out. Sense the chair holding you without asking for anything. Press thumb to finger and let the exhale lengthen. Whisper, rep sealed. The storm outside can rise. Inside, the rails are laid. You've built a toolkit that works in kitchens, conference rooms, and crowded trains. This last chapter is about becoming the kind of person who carries it without thinking, stillness as muscle memory, calm as culture. You'll learn 2 final frameworks that lock the whole system into your days, the Keystone Day and the Golden Thread. The Keystone Day is a simple way to choreograph 24 hours so your breath, attention, values, and budget all hum in harmony. The Golden Thread teaches you to extract meaning from ordinary moments so confidence compounds quietly. You won't chase peak days. You'll craft repeatable ones. You won't wait for proof you've changed. You'll notice that your life tells the story first. Begin with your body, because bodies give permission to minds. Drag a slow breath down the front of your throat as if you're pouring warm tea into a cup. Let your lower ribs widen against your palms, then exhale longer than both and feel your shoulders settle back on their rails. Notice the coolness along the bridge of your nose, the faint warmth at the center of your cheeks, the weight of your thighs where the chair meets them. If your jaw is holding court, let your tongue drop from the roof of your mouth. This detail work is not decoration. It's the switch that turns on access to every tool you've learned. From here, we draw the keystone. A keystone day is one you can run on a rainy Tuesday when the inbox misbehaves and the train is late. It has 4 arcs: opening, working, bridging, closing, and each arc has a single intention and a single cue. Opening installs direction, working builds waves, bridging repairs and refuels, closing harvests meaning and lands the plane. You'll give each arc a sentence and a sensation. If you forget the sentence, the sensation will carry you. You're building a day that nudges you back to yourself at the right moments, before chaos gets a vote. Opening is the first half hour you can influence after waking. The intention is orientation. Your nervous system learns where to point. Your sentence is short and body first. I am the awareness, and today I will speak, ship, and tend. Your sensation is morning light on your eyes and cool water down your throat. Walk to a window or outside for 3 minutes, horizon gaze wide as if you were scanning a shoreline. Drink a glass of water with a pinch of salt. Write tomorrow's verbs if you forgot last night or circle them if you didn't. Don't negotiate with inspiration. Make the room do half the job. Shoes by the door, notebook open with a pen asleep across its spine, phone across the room. 3 acts, 6 minutes. The day knows where to stand. Working is the middle: phone calls, code, forms, designs, diapers, deliveries. The intention is edges. You move in waves rather than weather. Your sentence is crisp. This is the inch. Your sensation is the timer's soft tick or your own breath marking a boundary. Run 15-3-1 focus waves for whatever matters most. Let distraction triage keep you honest. Park urges in the parking lot so your hand can keep working while your mind feels heard. If a spike hits your chest like a small hammer, tap your thumb to your finger, mark, and do 1446. Name your state. There is heat, there is pressure, and aim at the smallest wise action. The world won't clap when you do this. Your body will. Bridging is the seam between segments that usually fray: work to home, meeting to meeting, screen to dinner. The intention is reset. You carry less residue forward than the hour wanted to hand you. Your sentence is gentle, closed, begin again. Your sensation is texture and temperature, a cool doorknob, a warm mug, the spring of the floor under your steps. Do a rapid reset cascade in miniature as you cross thresholds. One physiological sigh, one wall press for 10 seconds, one sentence to yourself naming the next role, and a micro repair if you clipped someone on the way out. If you can't spare 60 seconds, spare 12. Breathe out longer than in as your hand touches a surface. Whisper, closed. Then step into the next room like someone who trusts their own return. Closing is the last quarter hour before you ask sleep to take your weight. The intention is harvest. You store the day's receipts where your future self can find them. Your sentence is quiet, keep the thread. Your sensation is warm light and soft jaw. Dim one light, write 3 verbs for tomorrow, log 1 evidence ledger line that makes a superstition less sticky, and practice a gratitude in shadow. I'm grateful the delay annoyed me. It showed me where process needs a hinge. Place your phone elsewhere, read paper for 3 pages, do 1, 4, 7, 8. You're not ending the day perfectly. You're ending it on purpose. Picture a day lived this way. Morning light finds your eyes. The air is cool on your upper lip. Your first wave lands a paragraph alive enough to move someone. Bridging, you press your palm to the doorframe and let a long exhale carry the meeting's heat out of your shoulders. Afternoon, you sweep 2 minutes of surfaces so your mind believes in endings. Evening, you circle keep in your mini fractal review. It reads like an index, kept waves before noon, kept sanctuary in the meeting, kept the boundary without apology. You sleep, not because the world is kind, but because you treated your nervous system like a partner. A story to prove this is not theoretical. In a small studio that smells of coffee and rain, Elena slalomed between freelance deadlines and caring for her mother after a surgery. Chaos had a calendar. She drew a keystone on a scrap, opening light and water and verbs, working 2 waves before noon, bridging 1 cascade between roles, closing 3 lines and a breath. Day 1 was stuttering. Day 4, her body reached for the window before her opinions. Her thumb tapped mark when her mother's pain spiked, and the old helplessness rushed in. Her mouth found the 1-breath boundary with a client who wanted more for less. In the closing minutes, she wrote, honored care and craft, drifted into overpromising once. Inch tomorrow is to ask a clarifying question first. She fell asleep before her inner prosecutor could open its briefcase. Keystone didn't fix life. Keystone let life be lived by someone she respected. Feel the skin along your forearms. Sense whether the air sits cool there or if warmth pools near the elbow crease. Let that cue us into the golden thread. The golden thread is the line of meaning you stitch through a day by noticing the tiniest moments where you chose who to be. You weave it by capturing 3 brights and 1 true. 3 brights are micro moments you want your nervous system to remember. A breath that changed a sentence. A boundary that landed kind. A wave that finished instead of frayed. 1 true is honesty about where weather carried you away and what inch you'll take tomorrow. This is not journaling for poetry. It's tagging experience so your RAS highlights the behaviors you're growing and stops feeding the superstition that chaos decides. Run it now in your head while the room is still and your jaw is soft. Bright, you softened your eyes to lantern before replying. Bright, you said let me check and get back to you and bought a breath. Bright, you drank water and walked to a horizon at 2 p.m. when the urge to drown your brain in novelty was strong. True, you snapped at yourself in the mirror. Tomorrow you'll place a sticky that reads label, level, laid, where your eye lands first. Let your shoulders drop 1/2 centimeter as you register that you can notice without whipping yourself. The golden thread isn't rose-colored. It is specific and unafraid. Another scene with fluorescent light and the antiseptic smell of a clinic hallway. Matteo waited as his partner's test took longer than expected. Unknowable everywhere. Old him would pace holes in the floor. He ran fog skills without naming them aloud. Known, she's in the room. Knowable, the nurse will update at 10 past. Unknowable, the result. Control, text his brother a photo of the window light. Watch. If no update at 20 past, ask. He placed a palm against the cool wall and whispered ground truth. I'm here, I'm breathing, there is a chair. 90 seconds passed, then 2 minutes, then an update. That night Matteo's golden thread had one bright and one true he could feel in his bones. Bright, stayed with breath, not story. True, snapped once at a receptionist. Tomorrow's inch is a 446 before speaking when my name is called. He didn't need a medal, he needed his own respect. He slept. Your identity settles with practice like silt in a jar left undisturbed. You used to tilt yourself, trying to make the water clear. Now you set down the jar often, breath, wave, bridge, close, and the water clears by design. The person you're becoming is obvious to people who watch you move. You don't call yourself unreactive. You treat people like they matter when you're hot. You're kind and clear when time is thin. You repair without drama. You ask for a beat when the room runs on adrenaline. That's the deepest indicator of change. Others relax around you not because you never feel, but because you don't outsource your behavior to feeling. Taste the air again. Maybe there's a ghost of coffee or a trace of paper and dust. Let that taste cue the keystone in miniature right now. Opening, one sentence, speak, ship, tend. Working, this is the inch, finish the message, cross the small bridge. Bridging, closed, begin again. Closing, keep the thread. Press thumb to finger and exhale for 6. Your body recognizes this dance faster than your inner narrator can doubt it. One more story near home, because this is where most of life is lived. A Sunday afternoon climbs the window like a slow cat. Dishes wait like polite beggars. You feel the familiar Sunday scaries pull at your ribs. Old you would scroll and scold. New you walks to the sink, runs the water, and lets the temperature become an anchor. You whisper, I am the awareness, not the forecast. You surface, sort, shrink, step. I'm spinning on Monday. This is a plan. 2-minute action is to sketch first 3 blocks on paper. You take 1 2-floor breath. You write 3 lines. You set the paper where your hand will touch it in the morning. Bright chose paper over projection. Bright softened the jaw and spoke kindly to your own name. Bright kept the keystone. True avoided 1 call. Inch is to send a message proposing a time. Your nervous system files the day under workable. Monday isn't cured, it's right-sized. There will be big weather, illness, loss, injustice. This book isn't a talisman against grief. It's a way of moving that preserves dignity in the middle of it. The keystone shrinks the circle to the part you can influence. The golden thread keeps you from forgetting where you were brave. Boundaries protect your body budget when kindness and care demand more than comfort. The 90-second, where the rule keeps you from adding fuel to flames you didn't start. The fractal review and evidence ledger keep you pointed at reality when imagination wants to punish you for being human. Feel your heart under your palm, that steady drum without an agenda. If you can, stand up and face a doorway. Doorways have been your teachers all along. On the inhale, widen your eyes to lantern and let the room's edges return. On the exhale, narrow to spotlight on the handle and speak 1 sentence that names who you're choosing to be on the other side. Kind and clear, focused and warm. The room doesn't demand it. You do. Step through. Let your heel feel the floor, accept your weight. Seal the rep with 1 slow exhale and a whisper only you hear. Rep sealed. You have learned to mark the swell before it breaks, to breathe in a way that returns blood to wisdom, to name thoughts as thoughts, to aim at the smallest wise action. You have learned to switch from lantern to spotlight and back again, to draw maps in fog, to set two tracks so motion and watchfulness coexist. You have learned boundaries that are kind and true, to reset without shame, to speak to yourself like a coach who loves your future, not a heckler who resents your past. You have given your body budget what it needs so your mind can afford nuance. You have sculpted rooms that push you toward the person you promised yourself you'd be. Now the work continues without fanfare. No audience, no applause, just you, breath soft, jaw easy, eyes knowing how to widen and how to narrow on command. When people ask what changed, you can tell them nothing mystical happened. You never found the perfect morning, the ideal job, the flawless relationship, or a world gentler than this one. You found a way to be the room, and because you became the room, the weather lost its power to dictate your character. You can be the person who asks a clarifying question when it's tense, who puts the phone in a drawer and reads on paper, who closes loops and rests at night because you told your nervous system the day is complete. You can keep your word to yourself in the small inches where lives actually change. Thresholds, breaths, sentences. Before we finish, sit for a moment with the past pages as a felt thing, not a concept. The chair supports you. Light rests on a wall. Air enters cool and leaves warm. Tap your thumb to your finger and let a long exhale follow it out. Whisper with me, honest and calm. I am the awareness, not the emotion, not the thought, not the fog. I am the room. In this room, I can be still in chaos. In this room, I can choose. Keep the thread.